Hello and welcome to Press Start Turbo. This episode we're looking at sequels that took risks and changed things up. Then after that, for the interview, we talked to Chris Bourassa, the co-founder and creative director at Red Hook Games, about how they developed their sequel to Darkest Dungeon. Then to wrap things up, we're diving deep into the campaign of Titanfall 2, as requested by the Patreon. Joining me today, we have Billy, Brendan, and Ed.
We can't escape this squishy little fucking twink called Edward.
Yeah, hi, my name's Ed.
And he's a squishy little boy.
Ever since I left PST, I've been getting non-stop anonymous phone calls to my house. When I was on the Dragon's Dogma episode, they stopped for like a week, and I kind of just want them to stop again.
That's your fucking peace of mind tax. You have to be on an episode.
Billy, I'm sorry. I'll talk about whatever you want, man.
Do you know what I want you to talk about? What you've been playing recently, Ed.
What have you been playing recently? Everybody gets a little one minute on the timer to talk about what they've been playing.
Well, I was on vacation for 3 weeks. I played Mad Max and I played Metroid Dread, but I've also been catching up / replaying a certain Capcom title to prepare myself for the next big one, Monster Hunter Wilds, which is Dark Void. Have you guys played that one?
You played Dark Void?
Have they cited that for Wilds?
So I bought it on Steam, and because I was like, oh, I think they removed the Games for Windows Live thing. Yeah, that game is still dog shit. It's actually fucking crazy. I can't believe it has like maybe 2 good levels, and it's ugly as fuck. Like, they try to go for this weird stylized Uncharted aesthetic.
Yeah.
And it just sucks. And then it has like this gimmick where like it does the inversion thing where it's like it's a vertical cover shooter. You guys remember those bits?
Oh no, yeah, we remember inversion.
I remember inversion vehemently. Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about inversion. I'm saying like the bits in Dark Void where it's like it's so
where
cool
you're, like,
because
behind?
It's a vertical cover shooter.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
so like, bro, let me do the jetpack shit. Because when you're doing the jetpack shit, it's actually not bad. Like it's like
it's fine.
little bit emergent with the fucking like, you know, going into the bases and taking them out and then jumping off the fucking top, and like that game sucks.
I've been playing Voice of the Void and Fallout London.
Wait, Fallout London came out? I thought it had to get canceled.
No, it came out.
It got delayed.
It got delayed because of the current Bethesda update, and it's genuinely pretty dang good. There are some parts that I dislike, but it's got cool set pieces. It's got a full campaign. It's basically the entirety of a whole game rebuilt inside of Fallout 4. Like, it is its own thing. You do not start in Boston. You start within London. I've already put like 40 hours into it, and I still haven't even explored the map like fully. Like, it is basically the depth of a better RPG within a map the size of the Far Harbor DLC for Fallout 4. It's got its own unique guns, its own unique factions, its own unique like questing, and it's got the Fallout New Vegas like perks and trait system back. But then it does have the gameplay of Fallout 4. So if you've played a lot of Fallout 4, or if you've experienced a lot of Fallout 4, you can get that like gamer fatigue. It's good, I would say. It's good. It's a good
Does
mod.
it have the village building
Yeah,
stuff?
but it's a lot more interesting. Like, you actually have to, there's the first like settlement that I got, I had to do a quest for it and like talk to a guy and be like, hey, you're the guy. I had to pass a charisma check to even be able to talk to him to do his quest to get London Bridge as a settlement.
Yeah.
It's a little busted and there's a lot of crust still attached to it, but overall it's probably the best overhaul mod for Fallout that I've played. Don't bring up Frontier. Don't bring up Frontier. Don't bring up Frontier. Don't you fucking dare.
I would not dare.
Oh, take your fucking shoes off.
Baka, you gotta take your shoes off.
Is that a line from the game?
Can I get a whiff?
What was that one line of them being because Frontier, like basically the guy has like a foot fetish, whoever wrote that shit.
Oh well, the Frontier had multiple writers because Fallout to Frontier was an insane mod.
Multiple fetishes.
The NCR campaign was done by somebody who blocked all of the animations from Call of Duty campaigns and Death Stranding. So everything in the campaign for the NCR is literally just ripped out of Call of Duty and Death Stranding. And the Fallout London is so much more of a cohesive and put together experience because it felt like there was somebody who was wrangling all these like writers into an actual team instead of, I'm the guy who does this dungeon. I'm going to put thing head bosses in here, like from the Thing, and also a spider. I'm going to put 50 brothels in this son of a bitch. You've heard of sex?
What about sex too?
Slime. Have you heard about sex? Yeah. But overall, I would recommend Fallout London to anybody. I think the only hurdle is it's a GOG exclusive mod, so it's a bit of a pain in the ass if you have Steam Fallout 4, because you have to download their downgrader to downgrade the Steam version.
What?
And then, yeah, it's a whole kerfuffle to install, but it is a lot of fun, and I do recommend it.
I mean, but also I feel like anybody who likes Fallout 4 and wants to play that mod will be willing to either already has it on GOG or is definitely willing to get it on GOG, just because then you don't have to deal with all this fucking extraneous DRM bullshit.
Yeah, you can either buy the game on GOG and install it just straight through there, or you can do the downgrader, and I don't like the downgrader because it makes you log into Steam through the downgrader. It doesn't just go to the files.
Yeah, I'm all right.
And I had to do that, and I was just like, about that. But, I mean, you can either buy the game through GOG, and if you have it on Steam already, there is an option for you to play it. So.
What about you, Cameron? What have you been playing?
I was going to talk about how much I've been enjoying replaying Returnal, but I had the misfortune of seeing the Borderlands movie over the weekend, so now I just want to fucking vent about that.
The movie?
God, it fucking...
No, I'm going to go see it. We can't talk about that movie.
I can't get spoiled.
I'm literally going to go see it with Brad on fucking Saturday.
Cancel your plans. Go see Alien.
No,
I have to go see Jack
We
Trap.
have to go see
It's no, okay, no. So I went into
spoilers.
I went into it with the expectation that it was going to be bad, right? I was like, this is going to be a fucking so bad it's good movie, like Super Mario fucking Brothers. No, it is irredeemable. It is potentially the most, like, trite fucking shit I've ever seen. Every character just, like, quips about some dumb shit. It's like, I felt like I was fucking seeing the future with every single line. I was like, oh, they're just gonna say this. This is exactly what's gonna happen. And just felt nothing the entire time. None of the characters feel like characters. Everybody's just like, it's so vindictive. It feels like it was out to get me.
I think we're 10, 12 people going to see it in a VIP theater with minimal seating, and I think we might have like more than half of the place.
They had like a 4D experience for that movie. Would they give you a flash drive when you left, or do you have to like bring your own?
Yeah, they hosted in the medieval times.
Would you fuck the claptrap popcorn bucket though?
Oh my god, we don't even get it in New Zealand.
It lights up. Did you see it?
There was a guy 2 rows in front of me who started talking to me. I was like talking to my friend who I went with about like how I was like, man, why did they fucking base a game off the Borderlands games? The one game I want to skip every cutscene with. He turns around and starts talking to me about how much he actually likes them, and just like he's like, Borderlands 2 is actually like my favorite game in the 360, and then
Borderlands 2 has barely any cutscenes too.
Oh my god.
Borderlands 3 is the one that literally makes Lilith the full protagonist of the games. I just played through these games recently, and I'm like, Borderlands 2 does not have that many cutscenes. Every cutscene in that game introduces a boss usually, or like there's the ending moment. Like, it is not that bad. 3 is the one where it's literally like, here's 5 minutes of Lilith talking in a character while you are out of frame.
If anything, I'm just happy that Eli Roth is making garbage again.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a would you rather question.
Okay.
Would you rather talk to a Borderlands fan for 3 hours or have to watch the Borderlands movie again?
Oh my fucking god.
How? I need to know.
What's more insufferable?
What is more insufferable?
I would probably talk to the Borderlands fan because I could at least make fun of them. There is literally no fun to be had watching the Borderlands film. I seriously, like, I just can't tell you people enough not to go see this film. You're just wasting 2 hours of your life. You will feel nothing at the end of it. You won't even be like, haha, that was so bad. You'll be like, oh, that's just like nothing.
Ooh, it's way too late. I just bought my tickets.
Oh, well, I wonder, maybe you'll get some fun out of fucking people going, oh, I'm too old for this shit. This is...
No! That makes it... The moment you said I'm too old for this shit, I know what the rest of the movie is gonna be like. What the fuck?
It's just that for 2 hours.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Can you guys keep it down? I'm trying to input my card details. I'm ordering 4 tickets.
Oh, wow.
Can you guys keep it down? I'm trying to do research on magic tricks, and I want to know how she does that.
Brendan! How did they do that?
Maybe if he gave me some shift keys after I fucking left the movie theater, I would have fucking see it again.
Sometimes I go on Pornhub and I search squirts, and I'm like, what the hell? How do they do that? Is that magic?
They actually ran out of shift keys, Cameron. I think they keep them in a USB drive in Randy Pitchford's office right next to all the...
Your mission, if you choose to accept it, find the USB key with all the shift keys and send them to the world.
I can't wait to wake up after this episode fucking comes out and just all of us are blocked by Randy Pitchford now.
This flash drive will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
I do have a question related to the Borderlands movie because I made a prediction and I haven't seen it yet. Is there a Skibbity Claptrap moment in the movie?
Skibbity Claptrap? Like, okay, define.
I had a dream months ago that Claptrap would pop out of a toilet and say Skibbity, and I had this horrible nightmare.
Okay.
That this was like real. Did that happen in the movie?
That did not happen in the movie.
Okay.
But honestly, I would have liked if that did happen.
Oh my god,
a little bit.
Oh my god,
because that would have been. I would have had an emotional response.
Oh wow! Did you at least laugh when he shit on the floor?
No, I didn't laugh once.
Why not?
Do you know what's there was?
Oh my god! So you're not saying that it's just bad. You're saying that it's worse than bad. It's boring.
We had two. Yes. We had 3 other people in the movie theater. They chuckled one time, and it was the fucking trailer moment where Claptrap shits himself.
I fucking can't believe it! You're kidding! It's when he shits himself!
Claptrap, now I have a question
This is awesome!
that's adjacent to the question that Brendan asked you.
Yes.
Does anybody in that movie say Hawk Tua?
No. There are no cultural references.
Fuck!
I can't believe they did the one thing that Borderlands is most known for is culturally referencing something that will be dated by the time the property comes out. I just cannot believe.
No, they didn't even do that. It's crazy. It's actually fucking crazy.
What's more insane, too, is knowing that the guy who wrote Chernobyl wrote that movie and then used his pseudonyms that he didn't get, like, caught as the guy who wrote it.
No way.
No.
You're
the guy
lying.
who wrote... you didn't know? The guy who
Craig
wrote Chernobyl...
Mazin, yeah.
Yeah, he wrote the Borderlands movie, but he didn't want his name associated, so they used a pseudonym. They used... Not a pseudonym, but they used a fake name for him.
He wrote the very first
the original script, yeah, until it got Randified and Rothified.
So not Mason or was it Craig?
No, it was Craig Mazin, but he didn't want to be credited in the movie, so his writing credit was replaced by a random fucking name.
Oh, Joe
Abercrombie? But that is him.
See, you guys say not BitCheck. I found a Variety article right away that was like, this is false.
Oh, you fucking fool!
I don't believe in Variety. They work for the machine.
All right, yeah, that's true.
I don't believe in Variety. They work for the machine.
Oh, no, Cameron, you fucked up. You didn't do a bit check on Variety.
Oh, hold up at the end. Oh, this is a bit. God damn it.
Yep, every time.
Anyway, we should.
Your 1 minute is up.
1 minute's up.
Whoa. Okay, I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3 on standard mode again because I didn't finish the DLC last time I played. That game's good. I've been playing with a mod that adds like the abilities from Remind into the original game. It's pretty good. I like it a lot. I wish that they would shut the fuck up. Frozen World sucks. I hate Elsa.
She doesn't want to build a snowman.
She's stupid and dumb. One thing I will say though is that I was surprised by how fucking forgettable the music kind of was. I remember like pretty much all the music that I remember from the original playthrough I did forever ago on Kingdom Hearts 3 was like Kingdom Hearts 2 remixes or Final Fantasy, not Final Fantasy remixes, but just like remixes from shit. I don't know. Good game. I don't think it's as good as 2, but at least it's better than 1. 1 sucks. That's my 1 minute. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't have much to say. I kind of forgot what I was playing this fucking week. Because all I've been playing was some games with sequels that are kind of unrecognizable.
Oh, the topic of this episode?
Yeah, I've been playing games that
nobody told me that's what we were doing. I thought we were talking about the Borderlands movie today.
Fuck! No, we're
we can
not.
Go back. No, we can't.
No, it's a video game podcast, guys. Come on, we can't keep talking about freaking movies.
I'm literally in queue to pick up my tickets. They already have my seats reserved. I got my Claptrap popcorn bucket.
It lights up and it has a little hand that moves.
Yeah, it's that scene where he shits himself, but instead of bolts, it's delicious butter popcorn.
Hot, buttery popcorn straight out of his butthole.
Yeah.
Fuck
Kate
yes.
Blanchett is rolling her eyes. I'm watching with Kate, by the way. Oh, you know, is Kate Blanchett?
I'm watching with Kate. Yo, what's up, Kate?
She's contractually obligated to watch the movie a few more times.
Oh, God.
Anyway, we're talking about sequels. Specifically, we're looking at sequels that really change the game up. Usually, I find like the formula for video game sequels is to try and play it a bit safe and just kind of iterate on what came before. Think like you're looking at Horizon Zero. What's the second one called? Forbidden West. To the first one.
Wow, more like Forgotten West.
Like it's functionally the same game, but like they'll change things, more mechanics, more weapons, bigger map, like better cutscenes, kind of thing. We're not really talking about those kind of games. We're looking at things where
we're talking about risky shit, buddy.
Oh yeah, where they really changed things up and like made kind of a big impact based on that. And sometimes, it works and sometimes it doesn't.
No.
I think to narrow down this conversation to what we want to talk about, I think they have to fit 2 criteria. It has to be a sequel. It can't be a reboot or a remake or a whatever.
Or a spin-off.
And a direct sequel to that game's story and canon. And 2, I think to make this interesting, the sequel should also be a completely different genre.
I got one.
One thing I do want to mention is that this is not a research episode. We can't keep doing research episodes all the time, guys. Last 2 episodes were super serious. This is like, we're just going to be fucking shooting the shit.
You can tell it's not serious because I'm here.
You were there. You were there for moments of when we, yeah.
No put downs.
It's not put down. I'm a clown. That's all I'm saying.
I bring him up, bro.
I'm here for clowning. Alone in the Dark 2008.
Oh my God.
I didn't play the originals. I only played that one. So I don't know.
Because, well, no, the original Alone in the Darks were like, they were survival horror, they were third person, but it was more of like a classic,
Were
like
they fixed camera?
Fixed camera, like old classic, like gothic survival horror, like going around. There are some screenshots of the original, and I played it a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
But it's basically just your classic like survival horror on PC. I think it's 92.
But is it a sequel to those?
True. It may actually constitute as a reboot. Actually, you're right.
Because I think it's a reboot / remake, that one. Yeah.
But it went to first person, or
also, I'm surprised you went for a game like that instead of going for like the obvious Resident Evil 3 to Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Or Resident Evil 6 to Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Both of those are genre shit a little bit.
Those are big fucking changes. I mean, those games, I feel like it's pretty reasonable to assume why they changed from like fixed camera to like behind the shoulder.
And invented the third person shooter. I still can't imagine that shit. And also, dude, I replayed Resident Evil 7 not super recently. And by replayed it, how like when people say, oh, I replayed Dark Souls, which means I got to Anne Orlando and I stopped.
Yeah.
What I do with RE7 is I play the first house and that's it. Like I play the opening, I play the Jack house. When it gets to the bug house, it doesn't get bad, but it's already past its peak. So I just stop. And I replay that, and dude, that game is so fucking good. Like there's such a little 4-hour experience that's just that. That game is excellent. It's fucking crazy. And the funny thing is about that game is that it's so brilliant at toning down and scaling down what fucking RE ended up becoming, with RE6 becoming like a Michael Bay movie. But I kind of love that game. I'm not gonna lie.
No, people are bitches about that game. That game's fun as hell. It's got some weird tech. It's got some weird fucking tech. It
still
in it
looks
too.
really good. Like
it does.
I don't know what engine it was on, but it still looks really fucking good. Like at the time it came out, it looked fucking insane.
Also, Zombie T-Rex is fucking awesome.
RE7 is a really confusing game because it like scales on all that shit. It reins it in. You think the whole time that this is like a reboot / soft reboot, but then the ending just goes like the bit. I'm gonna spoil RE7. It's a fucking 8-year-old game.
8-year-old game, yeah.
So, dude, the bit with the boat with Mia, where it's like, oh no, all that shit happened. China is gone, like China got nuked and all this shit, and like that's very, very real. And then at the end, Chris Redfield shows up, and it's just like, hey, I'm Chris Redfield. This isn't an RE remake. This is a sequel. It's just like, dude, what?
This is an actual ass fucking sequel, dude. Those games, like, they embrace the shit. I so much respect. I have so much respect for the people at Capcom doing the fucking Resident Evil stories, because they keep the canon, even though the canon is completely fucking batshit.
But that's why I love that game.
That like in the newer Resident Evil, they already saw the T-Rex coming to life. That shit happened. It's insane.
That's why I think the jump from RE7 to 8 is brilliant, because 7 really keeps the like, is this canon, is this not canon, like hat like under the table for the entire game until the fucking boat segment where it goes, no, this is a proper fucking sequel and we're embracing it.
Good.
And then RE8 goes, all right, cat's out of the hat. Now everybody knows that it's a sequel, so we're gonna embrace this shit even more. Chris Redfield shows up, pops your girlfriend 20 times in the head, and then that's your story.
Yeah, dude. I also think like this peeling back the scale back to, because it's weird. It's a reboot in the sense that it's like restarting the franchise right after 6.
Yeah.
It's going back to what they're good at.
But yeah, and it's going back to basics, and like, but it's still it still feels really fresh because it has that new perspective. But it still keeps a lot of the elements that are core to those Resident Evil games, like the inventory system and the way that you progress. But it makes the game. I think the perspective, I don't know about you guys, I prefer the first person for the Resident Evil 7 and 8, just with, like, I know that they did I just feel like keeping the camera closed in like that does a lot better for the scares in the game.
I think the only bits that I found genuinely scary in those Resident Evil remakes, or I don't know why I said that, but modern Resident Evil, I mean, the dollhouse, because it's pretty scary when the big fucking baby.
Oh, yeah. The dollhouse I thought was fucking great.
But I don't, just in general, I don't think those games are particularly, even like the chasing, getting chased around. That's a one trick pony. It worked once, and now like when I was around Castle Dimitrescu and this big sexy mommy was running after me. Yeah, I know.
In 7, I will say the first time I played the prologue of 7, I was shitting my pants.
Yeah, I was pissing my pants. When he broke through that wall,
excellent.
I was...
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about Jack. I'm talking about just the stuff with Leon.
Oh, dude, yeah.
The prologue is insanely pants shitting. Like, even when you play it again and you get that bit where, like, so you fight her, you knock her out with the chainsaw, and then you grab the gun, and then you go downstairs and her corpse is gone, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? And then you keep going downstairs.
And the fucking scene where
the attic is so black and you can't see, and then she just fucking lunges at. Oh my god, that was really good.
There's so much good shit, man. I love Resident Evil, bro. When are we getting another one? Come on, hurry the fuck up. But perspective is like one of the main things that we've seen, like, and I'm talking like perspective as in like 2D to 3D is what I'm trying to say. Whether it be like because of technical advancements, like the jump from Super Nintendo to fucking Nintendo 64 or Genesis to Dreamcast, like all those games, like you had the opportunity to do the jump to 3D, and that's another interesting thing, because how do you bring out all these game mechanics and all these like genre staples into the new age or into a new perspective? That's often something that's really cool. Like Risk of Rain 1 was very successful. And then they just decided that they wanted to challenge themselves, and they didn't know how they wanted to do a sequel for the game. They were just like, fuck it. We'll just straight out make a fucking 3D game. And that it plays similarly, but it plays so, just the perspective shift from 2D to 3D. It's such a giant fucking, it feels completely different from anything else that you would do in the first game, and yet it's so obviously the same DNA.
It's interesting to look at a lot of the reasonings why behind games like that, because a lot of it is, you know, like I feel like, you know, we look at games like Helldivers or something like that, and you can think about the reason why they switched is, you know, you're wanting to make a game for PS5 and you want it to be as visually appealing as possible, and then the best perspective from that is usually third person. And then you look at, like, you know, how that affects the gameplay, the creative decisions, if it's like, and broader, more wide appeal. Like, I think it's just a kind of a fact that I feel like third person games are the most appealing and widespread kind of game, and like most common for especially AAA games specifically. that are played?
I'm basic, like if when I see the first Helldivers game, I think to myself, of course it's going to be a fun game, but I don't think to myself like, oh, I got to play this. But when I saw the perspective shift in Helldivers 2, immediately it felt more appealing. And I don't know if it's just because you feel closer to the characters or something, but
I think it's got to do with like just the way that we interact with media, and like we look at films and the perspective that those are shot in. It's that mid shot level over the shoulder that we're really used to and is appealing, and we feel like it's more cinematic as well. Like there's a wide variety of reasons for why. Like I think people prefer that kind of perspective, or at least not specifically prefer, but maybe feel more comfortable with.
I find it kind of difficult to get into games that, you know what? I'm starting to realize after that CRPG conversation we had a few episodes ago where we were talking about Disco Elysium and why I can't get into those games. As we're talking about fucking Helldivers, I just had this realization that I have the same thing with it because it's so like far from the characters. Dude, what is wrong with me? I have no idea. One of the most interesting things I find, though, for like games that get sequels and the sequels are completely different is instead of like technology, change of perspective, whatever, a creative choice. Stay tuned for later, but Darkest Dungeon 1 to 2, Chris Bourassa told us about why they made the sequel pretty dang different from the first Darkest Dungeon. And another game series close to my heart, even though I know they're kind of mid. Well, I say they're mid, but I really fucking bat for them are the Darksiders games. I fucking love those games.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, every single one of these games is drastically different in playstyle.
Isn't the latest one like Diablo?
Yeah, no.
It's top down.
It's weird.
I know.
It's a top-down twin-stick hack-and-slash Zelda game. It's fucking weird.
Because what I hear is that Darksiders 1...
It was a Zelda game.
...was trying to be God of War. No, I thought Dark Souls... Okay, here's what I heard. Darksiders 1 was a God of War game. Darksiders 2 is a Zelda game. Darksiders 3 is a Dark Souls game. And the newest one is a top-down shooter, action game, whatever. That's what
Technically, I don't think Genesis is part of the mainline series, though. I think that's a spin-off. Yeah, but the first Darksiders is 100% a Zelda game. Like the puzzle solving, the way that you I'm talking classic Zelda. Obviously, we're not talking about like Breath of the Wild Zelda.
Yeah,
getting to a dungeon, getting an item in that dungeon that helps you do puzzles in said dungeon. The combat was more similar to God of War, but it was not. It's pretty obvious that it was not trying to go for God of War and was trying to go more for a Zelda for grown-ups with big blood and tits. I don't think there's tits in those games.
That's how I saw it advertised as well. Funny enough, that criteria fits two games from that generation. It was Darksiders 1 and Demon Souls. When Demon Souls first came out, that's what I saw in like the blurb of like at least 3 different articles of like Demon Souls is Zelda for adults. And I was like, that sounds kind of cool. Yeah, I don't want to talk about Demon Souls though. Please keep talking about Darksiders.
Darksiders 2 is more like it's more of a Diablo. It's like a Diablo hack and slash with still it has a bit of Zelda in it. Darksiders 3, which I just played fully for the first time. It's like a mix of, I don't even want to say Dark Souls because I don't think the combat is methodical enough to be exactly like that. But it's kind of...
Does it have a stamina bar? Like, do your attacks consume a resource?
It does not.
Oh, okay, then yeah.
It's not a stamina action game, but it is. It does have like a more like, if you fuck up, you're gonna get hit. And there is an Estus flask, but it's far more closer to a Metroidvania. Like you... At one point in the game, it just tells you like you have to go kill these 4 fucking entities. You can do it in any way you want, and you can go up, you can go down in these like different sections of the map, and I think that's so cool. But the reason why all these games are in the Darksiders series are so drastically different mechanically is because when they were conceptualizing the first game. I'm saying all this from like interviews and from what I could gather from what I've seen, but They wanted all the Horsemen of the Apocalypse to be completely different in playstyles because they're not the same person. So that's why if you play War, he's a big brute, so he's gonna have combat that's like closer to God of War. So it's gonna be very brutal. And then when you play Death, it's gonna be like they added a bunch of RPG elements, and he's very agile, so it's very flowy, and it resembles a bit more like Devil May Cry. I say that, but please don't kill me. I know it's not as deep as Devil May Cry, obviously. And when it comes to Darksiders 3, she's more of a mage, so she's going to be using a lot of magic and she's much more of a fragile horseman. And that's why they took all those decisions.
Because she's a woman, by the way. That's the part that Billy's trying not to say. It's because she's a woman.
That is not what I said.
No, it's all good, man. I got you. Keep going.
Okay. Yo, thank you so much. But yeah, no, that's the reason why Darksiders changes from game to game. And I think it's just such a cool creative choice. And that's why I'm kind of a fan of those games, because that's such a risky fucking move to make all of the games in your franchise like so different to play. That's why I'm so excited about Darksiders 4. Like, I don't know what I'm going to get, but I know that I'm going to get great music, decent story, but most importantly, just fucking amazing art direction.
Can I just say one thing in case we move on from Darksiders? Yeah. And it's the pettiest reason as to why I've never gotten into these games.
I
am so fucking upset that they took the coward's way out and they retconned the other two horsemen to be generic bullshit, because it's supposed to be
they did Pestilence and Famine.
It's supposed to be Pestilence and Famine, which would have been fucking dope, but they change it to Fury and Strife in Darksiders 2, and I think that's such coward shit. Such coward shit.
I was watching an interview, and the reason why they did that, they said Famine is actually like super sick, and they could have gone with it, but the original creator, I can't. Oh God. He's the comic book artist that works on these. I can't remember his name. It's like
Rob
Joe
Liefeld?
Modera.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. About. Yes. No. I don't think that's his name, but I know who you mean because he's the guy that like designed the original like War character. Yeah, I remember. I know who you're talking about.
He designed most of those games. He's not at the end. I don't think he works on Darksiders anymore, but they still keep the art because, I mean, fuck, the art is amazing.
Yeah, he basically designed all of Darksiders 1, like aesthetics wise. I know who you're talking about, but I don't remember the name.
Yeah, but he when he was designing for Pestilence and Famine, he was saying that those names don't really translate well into character movement and mechanic options, like what those characters could do. So instead, they made it Fury and Strife.
No,
because
I know,
they found that. I know what you mean. We should have had a fucking Pestilence that was a fat fuck and spit acid.
Like you can. Yeah, that's the thing. Like with Pestilence, I can see like a plague doctor looking ass dude, and with Famine, I have no idea. Famine would be really fucking hard to nail, but like I don't know. It just feels so like it feels like completely giving up and not even trying and just going for like, oh, we're going for two really upset guys. Okay, dope.
I mean, everybody's upset in those games. Everybody's pissed about something.
I'm upset because they fucking changed the names. It was me, Strife.
I do think that they're doing a bit better because Darksiders 1 and 2, the main characters don't have much debt, but Darksiders 3, Fury kind of has her little thing where she's not sure if if she wants to be friendly with humans or just like be a fucking psycho. And it's kind of compelling. It's not like fucking Oscar worthy, but it's pretty compelling, and it makes you want to keep playing the game and get all the collectibles, and the collectibles are humans, and that's kind of weird.
Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah, I like Darksiders. Yeah, you collect humans. You collect you just find a lost human.
Or
no.
Okay.
Darksiders 3, one of the big collectibles is just humans. You repopulate like a little shelter for them.
It's like a Chow garden, but with Braxton instead of Chow.
Fucking Braxton.
I gotta collect more Braxtons, dude.
What I was gonna say was it's like fucking me eating all the humans in Darksiders for 100% completion and looking like that big fat purple bastard from Mario Galaxy 2 after he feeds him Starbits. You guys know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Why are you always talking about getting big and round?
Yummy. Push me down the stairs.
I have a trilogy of games that I want to talk about, Smile.
Yes.
Have you guys ever played the Dawn of War games, the Warhammer 40k Dawn of War?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, thank God someone here. So...
But I only played Dawn of War like 3, like in high school, so I think I know where this is going.
All right, audience, you can't see it, but Cameron just started lighting a torch on fire. Let's see where this goes.
Was it 3 or was it 2? One sec.
It was probably 2 because 2 is the one that...
No, high school? Yeah, it would have been 2. I played 2 back in high school.
2009 is Dawn of War 2. So basically, there's a trilogy of games that came out there. The first one was kind of like a traditional RTS game, a la like StarCraft, etc. And then StarCraft like blew up, and when they were making the sequel, they were like, we want to differentiate it from StarCraft, and they did a bunch of like playtests and stuff like this. And it basically they transitioned the game to being, instead of like, you know, focusing on base building and big armies, they like scaled it down to be squad based, and it actually like shook up the gameplay quite a bit and made it super interesting and like tactical in that way. I love Dawn of War 2. Some people it obviously like turned away a few people who wanted that like that classic RTS game design, but it was like a really interesting shift, and like it didn't change the perspective or anything, but it definitely changed the way that you played. It was more like focused on like your positioning and unit stuff, like the micro of an RTS rather than the macro.
Yeah.
And then Dawn of War 3, I haven't played it because it's apparently dog shit. From what I've heard...
That's what I heard as well.
From what I've heard, it's like it focuses even further down to being just about like your big units, and I've heard it described as a bit of a MOBA, which is very...
Like a single player MOBA?
Yeah, because which is like interesting. It's where they've obviously tried something different again, but this time it's just not connected with a lot of the fans. But it is interesting.
The way you describe it kind of makes me think of Warcraft 3, because I remember Warcraft 3 being a lot about the like the big heroes.
Yeah,
like you would play. You know what I'm talking about. You played it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's where literally all of the MOBAs came from, was Warcraft 3 mod. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just like obviously not very well received. But it is. I'm sure there are some people that were like, oh, I actually like this game versus the other one. It's cool. I think when like trilogies or just games in general, when they're doing sequels, they don't necessarily like aim to specifically deliver for the original audience. They're like, we just want to do something different and new with whatever the development is. And I think Dawn of War 2 is a fantastic game. I prefer it over the original.
I've seen that opinion a lot.
Yeah.
I remember telling Mandy, like, I don't like RTS games. Can you recommend me one? And that was the first one he recommended to me, was Dawn of War 2. And that's the only one I played. And I'm sorry to say, Mandy, but I did not finish that game.
I have like so many, like, that's why I made that comment about the torch, because all of the people that I know that play Dawn of War 2, 1, they play it religiously. 2, they're all Nordic, so either Swedish or Finnish. And 3,
racist.
They're all incredibly racist. It's unbelievable. I have my pick for the sequel that changed or whatever. I forgot what we're talking about.
Well, I think. But sorry, go for it. You know what? You've talked so much, but you can keep talking. Say it again.
Well, I haven't suggested a fucking game yet, bro.
Suggest it, better. Suggest it. Go ahead. Huh?
Dude,
people finally know while you're not on PS anymore.
I'm gonna punch your lips with my lips.
No.
And make a little lip baby.
Oh.
So the ones that I was thinking of, it's because when I heard about this topic, this is the first one that came in my head, and I was like, oh my God, I need to make sure that this shit is not a remake, because if it's not a remake, that means I don't get to talk about this game. But no, it is a sequel, and it directly follows the events of Driver 3.
Oh my God.
Also known as Drive 3R.
Banger. I know what you're going to talk about.
And that's Driver San Francisco.
Mm-hmm. That game fucks so hard, dude.
Unironically, what I consider to be one of the best games ever made.
Understandable.
And I say that with confidence. So the history of Driver is really confusing, because the first game that I didn't even get past the tutorial of, because the tutorial was a fucking nightmare.
Insanely hard, yeah.
As far as I know, was only like a driving game, but it was in an open world. And it didn't let you get out of the car. All you did was drive and do random bullshit. And then from Driver 2 onwards, they saw how fucking big this little game called GTA 3 became. So they were like, okay, well, we don't want to be seen as like archaic and fucking outdated, so we're also going to let you get out of the car. The guys behind the Driver games aren't very good at making GTA clones. So both Driver 2 and especially Driver 3 are abysmal dog shit. They're terrible. They're like horribly written. They control like shit. They're just terrible. Like, it's kind of fun to get in the car and do the thing where like you drive to the airport and you fuck with the planes, but like it's genuinely like, imagine GTA, but it's being held up by sticks. It's fucking awful. And then they were like, okay, let's can all that and let's do a spin-off where it's set in the 70s. Did you guys know about a game called Driver Parallel Lines?
Parallel
I didn't
Lines.
know about this.
Yeah, it's like a 70s disco.
So that was, I think it was a prequel, and it was once again an attempt at doing a fucking GTA clone. And and this one was like the most, I think, out of all of the games, super high budget. They genuinely tried to be like a GTA competitor, and then they failed again. That game also sucks dick. I'm sorry. I don't know if there's any Parallel Lines fans listening right now. And the reason it was called Parallel Lines, by the way, is because it's set in the 70s. And then I think halfway through the story, you go to jail. And then there's a time skip. There's like a 30-year time skip. It's like, fuck, it does like Yakuza 1, type shit. Mm-mm. So it goes from like the 70s to modern day, and it just sucks. And then fucking, I don't even know when Parallel Lines released, let alone Driver 3. But then they were like, they pulled the fucking Resident Evil 7. We want to switch genres, but also we want to go back to what we're good at. But we also want to keep the open world and the multiple vehicles and all this shit. So they came up. Who have you guys played? I mean, obviously Billy played it. Who else has played it?
San Francisco? Yeah, I've played it. It's great.
Brendan, did you play it?
No, I didn't play it.
Do you know about how that game works structurally?
You're a ghost in that one, right?
Yeah. So the game, San Francisco, starts directly after the events of Driver 3, and fucking Chris Jericho escapes, and then you get in a car accident. And then the entire game, you're in a coma. Genuinely the entire game. But what I think is brilliant about how that game is written is that they don't try to make a twist out of it. Because I feel like any other like writer that's like slightly less smart than the guys who wrote this shit, which, by the way, one of the records for most dialogue in a game ever, and I'll get to why, because this game's fucking awesome. Is they turn the coma into like a central game mechanic. They immediately let you know, first mission, you're in a coma for the entire game. And during this coma dream that you're having, where you're like internally trying to figure out like how to find Jericho, et cetera, you gain coma ghost powers. So how they kept the open world aspects while also making it purely just a driving game is you're just a fucking ghost that can possess cars. And that's it. And that's your game.
No, I think you specifically possess
the driver of the car. They don't explain it. They just say, you can do this because you're in a coma. Fuck it.
Dude, it leads to some of the fucking funniest shit.
Oh my God.
Like, there's so many good bits in that game because of the fact that there's the people, because sometimes there's somebody else in the car and they're like, dude, why are you silent all of a sudden? Can you just fucking snap out of it? You're driving.
I love fucking possessing a mother in a sedan with 4 kids and just fucking finding one of those like trucks with the ramps on the back of them, and then you're just like, kids are like, what the fuck are you doing?
The kids are like, what are you doing? Mom, bring us home. And like, it's all like bits in the game. It's awesome, man.
So that's what I was gonna mention. I don't know how they came up with this fucking idea, by the way, because this is something that it's like
completely out of left field,
dude, and it works flawlessly because the gameplay ideas that they have are like out of the box amazing. Like fucking, imagine you're like in a car chase and you're chasing this guy. You don't need to catch up to him. You can just possess a car that's in the oncoming lane and just fucking kill him. Like, you can just drive into him. Because while you're not driving your main car that John Tanner's driving, the moment you're out of there, he just goes on autopilot and he'll just keep doing what you were doing before. Like, it's like fucking, he just keeps chasing the guy, and then you just possess some random like mother of 3 and, cause a horrific accident. But it doesn't matter because you're in a coma. None of these people are dying. None of these people are real. So they also keep the fact that John's a cop, because why the fuck would John suddenly go on murder sprees? You can't. These are all ghosts. And the game establishes immediately that they're ghosts. And then, as you guys were saying, they also work it into the story. And they're only like just random open world bullshit will happen, which, again, this is why the game has one of the records for like most amount of dialogue lines in the game. Because if you possess any car that has a passenger, that passenger will react dynamically to what you're doing while you're in the car. But also, that's how they write every single side mission around the concept. So there's like story arcs that you can go on where you're just possessing this guy who's like down on his luck. And for example, one of my favorites is a story arc where it's like this college student who can't afford to pay his tuitions because like his family's poor, etc. So his brother, so he signs up for street racing and bets basically their entire student loans on this street race. And his brother, who's the passenger, is like, dude, you don't even have a driver's license. You're a fucking psycho. Why would you think about this? And he's like, I just love Fast and Furious and all this shit. And then you win that race and you've made enough money to pay your tuitions. But then you find out that like 2 acts later, that side mission comes back. And this time it was the brother that signed the driver brother up for the fucking race because he was like, bro, we shouldn't stop. You're apparently a fucking genius when you fall asleep. You know? And it's so fucking good. It's so good. And then there's another one where like there's just this guy who's doing his driving lessons, but his driver instructor's a dick. So the side mission isn't even something the main character wants to do. It's something John Tanner wants to do because fuck this guy. This guy's a prick. So I'm going to start doing like these mega dangerous stunts to give him a heart attack. And then the mission starts and it shows you a little like heartbeat monitor and your objective is to get him up to like 200 beats per minute. your objective is to scare the shit out of him. It's such a good game.
It's got such a fucking good sense of humor, dude. I love that game.
It's so fucking, it's written so well. Like it's so clever. It's a genuinely funny game. Like the plot is kind of like very whatever. The plot itself is very basic. Like, oh, I'm uncovering this conspiracy, but it's not actually a conspiracy.
It's like a basic crime.
Very basic buddy cop story, but the stories around the main story are just great. Like the mini arcs you can go on of these people you've never met, but you just know them because you're possessing them and John Tanner is speaking through them. It's just, it's so fucking compelling. And that's what makes you want to do these side missions. You're not like checking boxes off. Like you genuinely want to see where this is going to go. It's great. It's such a good fucking game. And also like before I move on from this, did you guys know that the DeLorean from Back to the Future is in it?
Yes, I do know that.
Do you guys know the thing you can do with the DeLorean in that game?
Yeah, great Easter egg.
Cameron, do you know?
I don't actually.
If you buy the DeLorean and you drive it and you go over 88 miles per hour, the game fades to black. And then when it fades back in, you're in a modern remake of the tutorial from Driver 1. And you have to do it again.
It's really fucking good.
Isn't that the infamous tutorial where it's like fucking...
And it's just as hard as it used to be. And it's just as hard.
Funny.
It's really fucking good.
It's an amazing fucking Easter egg. That game, genuinely, like, you can't buy it anywhere anymore, which is very sad. It was probably something to do with the music that was in it.
Licensing, I think. Yeah.
All our PST listeners, if any of you have a fucking, like, 360 or a PS3 and you have like spare cash laying around, like I can't recommend this game enough. It's so fucking good.
It's really good. It's also abandonware, so do with that what you will. Do with that knowledge what you will.
Wait, I owned it on Steam. Where's it gone?
Oh, they took it away.
Wait, maybe I owned it on EA. Was it an EA game? I can't. No, Ubisoft.
It was Ubisoft. Yeah,
it's it was on Uplay.
It would be on your Uplay account.
We're safe. Yeah. Any?
I had a couple more, but like they were games that suck shit. For like the first one I thought of, which made me sad.
Can you speed run them? Can you speed run them?
Yeah, I can look at the list
real quick. Speed run garbage. Okay, let's go.
The first one I thought of when I was talking to Cameron was Lost Planet 3.
Oh, that game fucking reeks!
Yeah, it was just fucking Capcom going, oh, Lost Planet 2 was so good and everyone loved it. What should we do for the next one? People like Dead Space. Oh, okay, let's turn it into fucking Dead Space, and it sucks.
Yeah, give it to somebody. Give it to another fucking dev. They'll know what to do. Which, weirdly enough, also happened to Dead Rising 4, didn't it?
Yes. And also, here's another one that I was really shocked no one brought them up. the new God of Wars.
Oh my god, I didn't even fucking think about that. That's a really good one.
The new God of Wars are new genre, and they're like fucking completely different tonally, gameplay, and everything from the first 3 games, but they're still super direct sequels.
I'm sure people are gonna have like so many. They're gonna comment so many interesting ones.
Yeah.
That would be,
we're gonna get some Condemned 1 to Condemned 2 comments.
Look,
Like,
we even talked about like 2 of the most like biggest ones, which is like GTA 3 and Fallout 3.
Yeah, I
But,
just
like,
realized I said one earlier with Zelda, going from Zelda to Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah, you
There's
could say that for
there's
so
like-
many of the Zelda games.
I mean, Breath of the Wild isn't a sequel though. Like, aren't all the Zelda games
It
like
is.
standalone?
It's literally no. They're all if you go on a certain Reddit threads, you can find about the fucking Zelda timeline lore.
No, there's an official Nintendo book with the timeline. There's an official
really?
timeline. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's not like Reddit game theory shit. There's a real timeline.
It's goddamn MCU multiverse bullshit.
People are going to bring up FNAF because FNAF is accurate as well. It changes it up every single game. Like, it's incredible how much like the FNAF games change from like 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 alone. And even though they still imbibe that same like camera, each one plays completely different.
Yeah, I'm probably just gonna be reading all the comments about fucking games that do that and be like, yeah.
Leave a comment of your favorite game that changed things up.
Yeah.
Tell me what really changes between Ban Ban 1 to Ban Ban 7.
And then the final one is one that isn't dog shit, and it's a classic, Sands of Time.
Oh,
Prince of Persia.
Yeah,
Fuck
because
yes, dude.
the originals were realistic platforms, but they were like 2D dog shit.
that game rocks my peeny weenie, brother.
Duke Nukem twice, actually. Fuck.
Oh, true.
that's
Actually,
right.
true. Yeah.
Duke Nukem original into 3D, and then into Time to Kill, which is a completely different game, and then into Forever.
And 64 one. Then to 64 one as well. Wasn't that a side scroller?
Original Duke Nukem 1 and 2 were side scrollers. Into
That's
3D,
true.
then that was a first person shooter. Into Time to Kill and Land of the Babes, which were third person shooters. Into
Land of the
Duke Nukem
Babes.
Forever, which was first person shooter again, but there's posters of Randy Pitchford and his magic shows in them, so they're completely different genre.
Oh god, we've fucking gone full circle.
Damn, my ass hurts.
It's time for the interview. We're talking to Chris Bourassa. Hope you guys enjoy.
Hey, this episode of Press Start Turbo is sponsored by ASUS's new handheld gaming console, the ROG Ally X. Sometimes staying in my studio for long periods of times kinda drives me stir crazy. I get it, all my PC games are in there and I gotta do research for the games we talk about for the show, and I could buy them again for the PS5, but that's gonna get really expensive. But there is a way to fix this incredibly specific me problem. I plug my ROG Ally X into my TV through my dock, load up Titanfall 2, Darksiders, Risk of Rain, all on the same console thanks to the ROG Ally X's upgradable M.2 SSD, giving me 1 terabyte of space, and I can comfortably play and take notes in my living room without having to look at my motivational goat calendar and panic about deadlines every time I look up slightly. The massive 80-watt battery allows me to play all my favorite games even when away from a power outlet. With its fast charge technology, it lets me charge from 0% to 50 in only 30 minutes. And the 24GB LPDDR5X 7500 MHz dual channel RAM allows for a smoother gameplay experience at higher resolutions when paired with the Ally X's large SSD. If you heard me talk about this beast of a handheld and are interested in grabbing one for yourself, check out rog.gg/PST podcast. That's rog.gg/PST podcast.
Welcome to the interview portion for Press Start Turbo. Joining us today is Chris Bourassa. He is the creative director and co-founder of Red Hook Studios, whose games, Darkest Dungeon 1 and 2, are staples in the roguelike genre. Please welcome to the show, Chris.
Hello, how's it going?
Imagine applause.
Yeah, raging applause. We should probably give it a few minutes to just settle down.
Hey, you listening? You gotta fucking calm down right now. We gotta move on.
It's a
We
little
gotta
much
move
at this
on.
point, yeah.
Yeah, they're just applauding because today is your anniversary of the launch of Darkest Dungeons 2. They're so excited.
It's true, yeah. We have cake in the office.
No way.
Yeah.
What
yeah.
type? What type of cake? Can we actually?
I haven't seen it yet
First
because I'm
question.
talking to you, jokers, so I haven't been able to get my piece yet.
What do you hope it is?
I'm not really a cake guy. I'm more of a pie guy.
You know what? Same. So I totally get that. We'll talk. We'll talk later about the pie thing.
Yeah, I wanted to start it off. You're obviously one of the co-founders of Red Hook Studios. I was wondering how Red Hook Studios actually came about, and what was the impetus for going off and starting your own studio.
Yeah, sure. That's a big question. The shortish version of it is that I met my business partner Tyler at a local Vancouver studio. It was like a work for hire studio, so we get contracts to make games from companies like Sega or whoever else. Mm-hmm. Then we kind of got along and started playing a lot of poker together and hanging out, and kind of had complementary skill sets and sort of respected each other and enjoyed each other's sense of humor and stuff like that. So we loosely bandied around the idea of maybe doing something together at some point. But in the intervening years, we switched jobs. I went to a couple different studios. I freelanced for a while. He did the same, kind of bounced around. So the timing never really lined up. And all during that time, I kind of got, the more experienced I got, the more kind of frustrated I got sometimes with some of the creative choices that I would see made at some of these larger studios. And always wanted to know if I could test myself to do it better, or if that my ideas were actually, good.
Yeah.
And so the timing kind of finally lined up for us. And I had a job interview at another local studio, and I turned that down, and we went out for drinks and got really, really drunk and swore up and down that we would stick it out and make a solid run together. And that was in 2013. So it's just two of us and a $500 restaurant bill, which is not a
dream. And a dream.
And a dream. And we had no programmer, and we had nothing. But we sat together down in my little tiny studio bedroom / office, and just started to get to work.
And did you guys have the idea for Darkest Dungeon? Has that been something that was bouncing around in your mind of this is the kind of game I want to make? Or is that something?
Yeah, we'd kind of hang out. We'd hang out and talk about games, what would be cool to make. And once we kind of hit on this idea, just kind of how absurd it is that you can just kill so many monsters in video games, and your guy just does not give a shit at all. He just cleaves through thousands and thousands of living things and has no no impact on this.
Yeah, just fucking going around. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. And that power was measured in the size of your pauldrons, as opposed to and we kind of laughed about the idea of you could give me the craziest, most glowing runic sword in the world, but if there was a literal undead skeleton shambling towards me, I don't know how I'd react. Never mind how good my gear was. And so isn't it interesting that, games are more about the gear and less about the person wearing it? And so we thought, maybe there's an interesting exploration to do there, where we explore heroism by contrast. We explore failure, and so the success maybe hits a little harder. We talked a lot about making heroes flawed, which is sort of the quirk system, and that made it into both games. Just making sure that there was always a downside. There was always something that was suboptimal about these guys. The way soldiers and policemen and firefighters and people we commonly refer to as heroes sometimes have, very deep-seated emotional problems, either as a result of their vocation or just their personality. Everybody kind of has their limits and their weaknesses, so we just kind of felt like there was an interesting RPG there.
Mm-hmm. So basically, looking at the character first before looking at the heroic.
Yeah, less of a power fantasy. There's a lot of RPGs, and I love them. I love me a good gear grind or whatever, but they explore a power fantasy of being a demigod basically, and we're just we can't. That itch has been scratched. By
there's a place for that, but now it's time to go for
totally
be really fucking depressed that your run ended so early.
Yeah because it's kind of an escalation problem. I remember feeling that way with the Superman movie, the Man of Steel, because the high rises start coming down so quick in that movie, and once the first one falls, you're like, okay, well now what? And they're like, well, we're gonna knock down even more high rises, and you're like, okay, I feel nothing. And
then the next 10 minutes of that movie,
it's just high rises falling,
destruction,
and none of it really matters anymore. And so I think we were both kind of attracted to the idea that a little bit less is more, and that also works with the practical realities of being a tiny tiny startup. We don't have limitless money. We don't have limitless time. We don't have limitless resources. In fact, we're very, very limited in all of those things. So less is more is not just like a kitschy, cool little creative slogan. It's like a necessity, right? We have to do more with less. So those are some of the ingredients early on that we were working with, or not working with, as the case may be.
I want to bring it back to that because you had this idea, which turned into the affliction system and stress, right?
Yeah.
What's the process for like actually designing that into? So you have this like idea of like, okay, I want to show my characters like this and have them be flawed. What was the like? Did you guys always have like, okay, so it's going to work exactly like this in the game, or was that like a very not procedural, but you know what I mean, like a
iterative kind of thing?
Iterative, yeah.
Well, we usually design the two of us together, like kind of theme first. So we started talking about like what stress does to people, and we all had like some experience managing larger teams and can kind of see what pressure does to people. And there's a lot of movies that kind of examine what like stress and pressure does to a small group. Colorful movies like Aliens, or like something more sobering like Band of Brothers. And so we're like, we don't want to make a game about mental illness. We want to like make a game about stress. We want to kind of make sure that we stay a video game and not a mental health commentary. So we just started talking about what stress does to people. Some people buckle out. Some people take a bunch of PTO and disappear. Some people sulk. Some people, do their work, but they do it really angry and they're horrible to be around. Some people just rally up. Some people knuckle up and really respond well to, a certain amount of pressure. And so we just started talking about how we would gamify that experience of stress building and then hitting an inflection point where a person's sort of character is revealed, by virtue of having been tested. And in that moment, do they perform admirably, which is much less likely, or do they sort of become afflicted with a number of different kind of suboptimal toxic responses? And so just in conversation, we hammered out how that would work. And interestingly enough, it didn't change. Like our first version of that system, it was tweaked and adjusted and made, more player friendly in some cases, or, sculpted the numbers a little here and there. We refined the types of act outs that people would do, because playing with player agency while they were afflicted was a really fun part of the game. But we didn't change the fundamentals of the architecture after we had kind of like talked it through, kind of on paper or just in discussion. So that was kind of neat that we thought this like major tentpole feature of the game would be something that we'd constantly have to return to and iterate on. But no. It was pretty much good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's lucky us.
That's really lucky.
Yeah, totally. I'm not. I say that without any hubris. It was like a very nice turn of events that we could just kind of put this system in the game and live with it, and it did exactly what it needed to do without too much like development cycles over and over on it. So that was a win. We've had some losses. Don't get me wrong. But that was a nice little bonus.
What was one of the things that you had to like iterate and work on? Because I remember reading that originally it was a top-down game. Is that correct?
No, it wasn't ever originally a top-down game. We explored it because when you set out to make a tactical RPG, the first thing you think of is a grid, right? Like that's the first. Yeah. You're like, okay, Pool of Radiance, or I'm old, so Pool of Radiance. But for you guys, maybe some other game that just came out. I don't know, but
I know Pool of Radiance.
Yeah, so usually you think of like a grid or like an ISO situation or like the ARPG Godcam and that kind of thing. But I didn't want to draw the tops of people's heads, and it was like I need to enjoy making this. I don't want to sign up for a project that I hate the work, and I really love character design. That's kind of my favorite sub-discipline in all of the jobs I've ever done in this kind of commercial art and entertainment field. My whole career, character design is my favorite thing. So I didn't want to sign up to do a game where I'm just drawing bald spots and the tops of shoulders. That sucks. That's not fun at all.
Yeah, that doesn't sound very fun. You're right.
Yeah. Talk about facing your fears. I mean, yeah, sure.
Whoa.
But I didn't want to do that. So I'm like, there's got to be a way of, it was the combat kind of presentation and the way the game was structured was like kind of built on a couple of ideas. Number one, we didn't want the player to feel like they were God. We didn't want them to have like a tactical overview. We didn't want them to have any more information than the actual heroes would have, because making permanent decisions with imperfect information is really one of the core kind of threads of DNA that runs through both our games. We like that discomfort. We like, because that's kind of echoes like what leadership is in life. You never have all the information, and the decision you make, you have to live with it. So I love building our games around that. So we didn't want a god cam, and then the other factor was Chris didn't want to draw top down or ISO because it feels really sterile. And so from there, we just kind of cooked a little bit and thought, we could still do positional combat. What if it was just like strictly like it was like a one-dimensional combat system? And would that be too limiting? And it sure as shit be more fun to draw. And we just kind of iterated from there and had a couple of aha moments when it came to the combat itself, and then figured, you know what, I think we're onto something, which has been cool to see. Like a lot of games have copied that setup of like side view kind of party positioning, that kind of thing. So that's kind of neat.
I want to move to like talking a bit about the sequel here. I was actually wondering, whereabouts in the development cycle did you come up with or decide that you guys were going to make a sequel? Was it while you're making Darkest Dungeon, or was it once you guys shipped and finished?
Oh, well, we did Darkest Dungeon early access, then we did the 1.0, then we did a free update where we added more enemies and like town events and some other kind of like quality of life features. Then we did a huge DLC that we should have charged more for, but we didn't. Like, it's insane. I don't even know how we did the Crimson Court DLC. It had like 2 cutscenes and like all this crazy stuff. Then we did character pack DLC. Then we did a high score, almost arcadey sort of like get as many kills as you can style DLC with new enemies and settings. Then we did a multiplayer DLC for it.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it was really cool. That was just like us going, I wonder if it would be fun to battle your friend.
I didn't even know there was a multiplayer. Dude,
yeah, it's free. It's free. You should
what?
check it out. Yeah, it's still people
check it out.
There's like a really small, dedicated group of people that play it. It's kind of cool.
Are there like tournaments? That'd be fucking
I don't know.
crazy. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah,
that's wild. What a discovery. That's awesome.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well, to the point where I'm like, I'm not totally done with that idea.
Ooh, world premiere.
We had done all of this stuff to Darkest Dungeon, and at this point, like the code architecture and even the design space was starting to creak under the weight of like, if you have all the DLCs enabled, like it's a gigantic, amount of playtime and features and stuff. So we're like, we can't just keep doing this game forever, even though it was making money. And we wanted to try to build something else. So I think towards before the multiplayer release, but after the sort of high score Color of Madness DLC, we started talking about what we could do for a second game. And neither one of us, Tyler or I, didn't, we wanted to make more Darkest Dungeon, but we didn't want to make Darkest Dungeon again, which, we just gave a talk at GDC about doing the sequel because it's been very like divisive and some people in our community don't like it. And the poor game has, gets like kicked around a little bit, to be honest, just in online discussions and stuff, because it is quite different from its predecessor. But for us, it was just like, why do you have a company? Like, why did you take all that risk? And why did you like work 80 hours a week and straight up, lose a couple of friends? And, why do all that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's to be able to make the things that you're passionate about making. People always glorify passion. They talk about it through this kind of rose-colored glasses, but passion is really just staying up super late,
Passion is fucking pain.
Yeah, it's staying up really, really late, and it's being really tired, and it's going without things that would enrich your life for the sake of a goal that is inherently uncertain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely,
the pursuit and dedication to it, creative passion is a lot of hard work and suffering. And
if you're not scared, you're not passionate.
Yeah, but it isn't like
so much fear inherent to it.
Exactly. So what is the reward? Well, the reward has to be that you have self-determination, right? That you're not beholden to a master, and that you can feel free to follow your creative impulses. So we sat down and we're like, I don't want to make that game again. I love that game. I love it. But I don't want to just do it again, but with better graphics. Or, now instead of running a little town, you run a city and there's more feature. Like we have that experience. We did it already. So we're like, well, but on the other hand, I really love the characters and the world and everything that we built. I don't want to leave that behind. So then we just started talking about like, well, what's another type of experience we could do? And this idea of like kind of a road trip kind of took hold, and we both really liked that and thought this would be like a really cool, like another keyhole into the IP. It's not trying to do the same things. It's not trying to be the same experience as the first game, and it'll present new challenges and it'll push us creatively, and it'll drive our studio forward, and we'll be kind of enriched by that process. And so we got excited about that, and that's really, we were excited about the first game. That's how it got made. We wanted to be excited about the second game, and we weren't like super jazzed at just trying to like beat our old high score.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where it came from. And the more we talked about like a road trip and how people like, I've been on a bunch and I've heard of some couple doozies, like the couple that started out broke up, and then she's with the guy who was sitting in the front seat by the time the road trip is over.
Jesus,
and
dude.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
It's a lot. And I had friends who went from
before. So it's a fun experience.
It's wild. So we're like, that's great. And then we started talking, okay, well, how much of the first game do we pull forward? And had to go through this like really careful unpacking of what we felt like was appropriate. And we thought this was our GDC talk, is like, we thought by doing all of this thinking and advanced prep that we were setting ourselves up for both games to just sit side by side. But the net result is, unfortunately, there's always going to be comparison. And so you can go to our Reddit and people are like, which is better? And we took so many painful like conversations to try to make it that we wouldn't have that discussion, that they'd just be like, do you like blue or green? Like, I'm feeling green today, I'm feeling blue today, and you don't have to decide which one's better. But I guess that's just not the way the internet works. But that's where the game idea started from, and that's why we wanted to do it. Is it was really like our expression of the fact that changing it up is really important to us. And I've said it in a couple of places, but if you look at our release history, we haven't ever really retread ground, even though it's all been, obviously Darkest Dungeon. Every DLC has got like a different focus or a different feature that is the tentpole. Both games are quite different. So that's just kind of part of how we like to make things. Want to be excited about it and want to try different stuff. So I'm proud of that.
In retrospect, because you're bringing up like the player expectations for what the game would be. How much do you think that was tied to it being called Darkest Dungeon 2? Like having that, do you think that was the thing that like kind of set up the expectations?
Maybe. I don't know. We had a big debate about it. Do we call it Darkest Dungeon : something? Do we call it something, a Darkest Dungeon game? Do we call it Darkest Dungeon 2? And we just kind of came down on the fact that it is the second Darkest Dungeon game.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like,
and so, you throw a 2 on it. Maybe we'll do an FPS next time, and it'll be Darkest Dungeon 3.
Ooh, hell yeah!
But I guess I've seen some comments like, why couldn't they just have called it X, Y, or Z?
Right.
Then it wouldn't be so ... And everyone's entitled to their opinions, but I don't think the name fundamentally changes the thing.
Of course.
So you're always going to have expectations. I mean, they call it a sophomore album problem for a reason. You're always up against people's expectations following a success. So all we can do is we just show up for work and do our very best. And it's a very, very good game. There's a lot to find and uncover in there, and we're not done with it. So
yeah, going back to the design process for the sequel, was that like a kind of situation where you all got into a room, like wrote down all of the mechanics from the first game, and we're like, okay, this is what I want to change. This is kind of what the direction I want to go.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, we didn't have a big boardroom or anything, but we just sat down and we're like, okay, well, what is essential to Darkest Dungeon, right? The narrator, the art style, the combat system, let's say, the characters, the world, the tone, certainly the music, the stress, the imperfect heroes, the imperfect information, permanent consequence thing. These are all like essential ingredients. That you have buildings you upgrade, I don't think that that's essential. I think that was like a neat part of DD1, but I wouldn't call it like essential to the IP, because you can imagine a Darkest Dungeon game without it. You can't imagine a Darkest Dungeon game that doesn't look similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of just went through this process, is accuracy inherent? Are the combat mechanics as they are quintessentially Darkest Dungeon and therefore like immutable? No. And we had a really successful redesign of our combat system. Like the combat system in DD2 is universally recognized as superior to DD1 because we weren't afraid to change it, right? We kept the structure, but we changed a lot of how it works to be just a little chunkier, a little bit more rewarding, less finicky with percentages and that kind of thing. So we kind of did what you're describing. We just sort of unpacked what the game was and put it in either the is essential or isn't essential category. But just because something wasn't essential doesn't mean we wanted to cut it. It was more just that like it could be changed, right?
Yeah.
And were there like some things that you maybe didn't have time for, didn't get to in Darkest Dungeon 1 that you're like, okay, for the sequel, this is where I'm going to like lay the groundwork for this and like really let it shine?
Not really. I think after all those DLCs, like, even as the guy who writes the stuff, like I was out of things to say about the ancestor. He's a huge dick. Like everything bad was his fault. I'm like, at a certain point, I'm like, we've
what
told
is there
this,
to say?
We've told this story in its entirety. So I wouldn't say that we just left stuff out and we're like, oh my God, I can't wait to put that in the sequel. But DD1 is really about the narrative is all about the antagonist, right? Whereas the narrative in DD2 is all about the protagonist.
Yeah.
And as a result, it gave us a chance to like explore the hero origin stories and backstories. And I always think about our cast of characters kind of like medieval X-Men.
Yes. That's really good, actually.
They have their own little like origin story, Martha and Thomas Wayne getting shot in the alley and the pearls everywhere. Like, every one of our heroes kind of has something like that. And so it gave us, given the tonal difference between the first and second game, it gave us a real legitimate opportunity to explore those in detail, get them like written and narrated and playable. Like there's playable chapters of their backstories, which were really fun to do.
That's what I was going to say. Like those are my favorite part of Darkest Dungeons 2 is getting to like, because you don't only learn about their backstory, you also get to play the backstories with like unique mechanics.
Yeah, it was a fun challenge.
And I love that. It's so fun.
Yeah, it was a neat, it was a lot of work, and it's debatable whether or not it was like, did it translate into copies sold? But again, like we wanted to do it. We felt like this would be a great way of like shedding some light, canonically on this cast of characters and really giving them their moment in the spotlight. So I think it was like worth doing regardless of the economics.
Well, I like it, so I think it was worth it.
I really think it works for the game's pacing as well, like having those, because it's the same combat, right? But it feels different because sometimes you only have one character when you're going around as well, but usually you're having a bad time. But it's mechanically different and it's in another context, so it really does help with like making your current run feel totally different from what you've been doing up to that point.
Yeah, and just the fact that you kind of learn more about these characters that, if you're a fan of the first game you've been playing for 8 years.
Yeah, and man, you're going to be spending so much time with these fucking people, you might as well it's a road trip. Like,
and so that was kind of the thing, yeah.
It's a road trip game, dude. You're
going to start talking about your baggage while you're in the cart, right? That's kind of how we imagined it. Is like, the more they get to know each other, the more they share and you get to listen in,
Yeah, it's really interesting because I never really thought about how much of a fucking road trip game it is. It's like, it's only missing the boys are back in town playing on loop and then you're fucking golden,
Yeah, the Vegas baby, Vegas. Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's like 3 road trip songs on loop.
How did because you guys obviously sized up a little bit for the sequel in terms of your team. How did that change the development process? I know you have like history leading like larger teams, but was that something you just like slipped back into?
No, I wouldn't say we slipped back into it. We are really careful. Like both Tyler and I really love. We don't aspire to grow for its own sake. Mm-hmm. So we want to be a boutique size, I guess. I recognize that like we don't operate, strictly speaking, like a lot of tiny indie teams, but we are independent and we enjoy not having like a big fat layer of middle management. And so as we grew the second games team, we were very small. We had like 7 people. By the end of the first game, we started with like 4. We started we hired for purpose. So I had some really talented people that I'd worked with. I reached out to them for, really vital roles like a lead character modeler, lead environment, that kind of thing. People that I knew were really great at their jobs and that I trusted and had worked with well before. And so we sort of grew the team little by little over that first year and a half, 18 months. And we were going to stick there. We got a really great deal with Epic that allowed us to kind of grow a little bit more and spend a bit more money. So we added again for purpose, build engineer, things like that, where we're really feeling the pinch. But we didn't ever really open the floodgates and be like, we need an art team of 35 people and we need 15 software engineers and 7 designers. Let's go. It was more just like, where are we weak? Where do we need to shore up? And I won't say that we did it perfectly. I think that right now we're kind of in a good spot where everything is sailing along. But certainly there were periods of time in DD2's early access where everybody was working pretty hard, and I certainly felt like I had too many jobs relying on me. Like I was a bit of a bottleneck. It's hard because the game is pretty personal in a lot of ways, and so it's hard to just abdicate some of the key kind of creative roles that I had on the first one.
It's hard sometimes when you're working on something personal to just like tell somebody like, hey, could you help me with this part? Because in your mind, you're like, I know how this should look like.
Yeah.
It's not hard to trust. I don't know what I'm trying to say exactly, but it's hard
it's hard to delegate.
Yeah. Delegate.
But it's like handing your baby to like someone else. You're just going to be constantly watching them.
Yeah, kind of. And it's sort of also like, we talked about player expectation earlier, and that's certainly a factor, right? Like if I just hire an art director, I risk that the game doesn't look like the first game, which is going to mess with player expectations. If I just hire a lead writer and say, go for it, it might not sound like the first game, and that'll mess with player expectations and consistency across like both games. I think, both Tyler and I kind of struggled with what do we let go? How far do we let it go? And that's been a bit of a pinch, but we're getting better at it. So we're, it's not doom and gloom. These are all great problems to have. Like I have too many jobs because our game is successful is like not anything anyone should cry about. But like you're asking about the pain points of growing, and certainly that was one of them. We haven't had big big team drama or anything like that. Everybody's a pro. We tend to hire a little bit more experienced developers, and everyone really came together. My favorite time actually in this incarnation of the company was I think about a year ago, about 6-8 weeks before we launched DD2 into 1.0 on Steam, where the whole team was like working really hard. Everyone, like Slack was lit up like a Christmas tree, but everyone was just like ruthlessly on point, just passing information back and forth like a relay race almost. And it was just awesome to watch the whole team like really come together and be so high functioning, and you can't have that type of activity for too long. People will burn out. But for 5-6 weeks before we launched, that's what it looked like. And I was just like really proud of like not just the people, but like that we had put together this group, and just watching everybody pop off like that was just fucking awesome. And then obviously we had to give everybody a break, but we got the game over the finish line.
Deserved,
in this industry. I don't know.
Yeesh, guys.
I wanted to, because both of these games, you were talking about early access before, but both Darkest Dungeon 1 and 2 released in early access before launching. How important was that process for your guys' development?
Early access on Darkest Dungeon 1 was vital because we were out of money. Like we had made, I started with 24 grand in the bank. I'd spent probably about 30 because I was like partway into the like I promised my wife I wouldn't touch this money. Kickstarter, we earned 313,000. We paid back a loan and distributed the rest on the team. But by the time that comes to a person on the team, it's like whatever, another 30-40 grand. So it was really tight. And by the time we were eyeing the early access release, everyone was feeling the financial pinch and really hoping that the game would make enough money that we'd get our salaries for the year. So that was awesome that we were able to release and have it succeed, so immediately. It was really validating, and I don't think I'll ever have that feeling again in my life. I think that's like kind of a one-off, and I knew it at the time too, so I was like able to appreciate it. I'm like, it's kind of like a perfect moment. But it was, early access was vital. And not only that, but like, over the course of early access, you can improve and
you get feedback. Yeah.
Clean up the game, and you hear what people think, and you know where to put your efforts. Totally. And early access on Darkest Dungeon 2 was a little bit different. We got a nice minimum sales guarantee from Epic to be exclusive for that period. So we were, live, but kind of on this adjacent storefront, like out of the eyes of Steam. So, we had a lot of players. And we got a lot of great feedback through our Discord. And actually, the early access on 2 was much more invasive in the sense that we cut a lot deeper and refactored a lot of things much more significantly than we did on the first game. And I think that the feedback that we got was really important for that whole process. So I'm a big believer in the model. I think it's a great way for teams of our size to launch a game. If you're charging $100 out of the gate, I feel like your game should be finished.
Yeah.
But for these kind of mid-range AAA, for lack of a better nomenclature, type of games, I think early access is a fantastic place, and I really love the community that builds up around it. You just have to be prepared. I think on Darkest Dungeon 1, one of the things we struggled with was community management because we just didn't have anybody. So it was like us managing the Steam forums.
That's not the first time we hear that.
Yeah, it just and when you have a significant player count, it's a lot of work.
We were talking to the raw metal developers, and they were saying as well that not having a community manager at the start was fucking super hard for them because it's such a different world. You always think you can do it because you're like, it's just a tweet, it's just a this. It's like, oh no, dude, that's like a full-time job, dude. That's why some people get paid for that,
Yeah, and it's like, it's seductive because it is just a tweet, it is just a post, it is just a blog update. But at that point, you're not managing a community. You're in emergency response mode, right? Like you're just getting the bare information out there, and
you're doing the bare minimum, and a community manager is going to like push hype, and like they know how to like build up a cycle of it's a totally different job.
Yeah, and also curate, like scrub the Discord for feedback. Watch the temperature of the community and report. Look, generally we're seeing a lot of grumbling about this. Like, it's not like there's no, fire, but, I would say that this part of the game maybe needs a little bit of a look. You don't have that ability to look beyond what's in front of your face unless it's your full-time job. So, we rectified that on the second game, and also our tools got way more robust, so people could submit feedback in the Discord and also directly in the game itself. And so like the whole process there got easier and more just more streamlined, I guess. And as someone who cares only about the game itself, I still concede that all of that investment was totally worth it. I think like in my more cynical moments, I just think like, well, the only thing that matters is the game. Obviously that's like, narrow-minded.
Yeah.
But just seeing how much better equipped we were on the second game with community management and feedback management and that kind of thing, I'm like, okay, yeah, there's definitely something to these roles.
What was that one quote where it's like you start playing the game from the first trailer or something like that along those lines? But yeah, it is very like that kind of engagement is super important, and being able to hear that as well in like a condensed form is like what community managers are really excellent at.
Yeah, exactly. And then laying the groundwork, I think that's something that never really gets talked about with community management, is that a good community manager can lay the groundwork for upcoming changes and set expectations so that when something happens in a balance patch or a feature update or something like that, the community is kind of primed, or the key evangelists in the community are sort of like primed for it, so they can mitigate the impact of some of these, sort of sea change moments where you're like, okay, you know what, Man-at-Arms doesn't even work like that anymore. Telegraphing that's coming, getting people on board, being open about it, making sure the community's aware, so that when it does happen, it's not like, on Monday I had 12 rounds in my clip, and on Tuesday I only have 3. What the hell is happening? These developers are terrible.
I imagine as well with how the industry has been. I mean, this is like we're on the cusp. This will be this will come a few months out, but we're on the cusp of after Microsoft just like announced that they shut down a bunch of the studios they acquired from Bethesda. But just with like the way the industry is at the moment, there is a bit more. It seems like there's a bit more security in being independent, which is the inverse of what you would think.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about that either.
Well, not security. Sorry, I shouldn't say, but like, yeah. I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say. Sorry, it's still early for me.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I think it's a fascinating like topic, like the way the market and the industry kind of flexes and ebbs and flows, and how for a couple of years independent games were the most important thing, arguably, that was happening. I think it's natural that they aren't for a while. That doesn't mean that there won't be successes or that they aren't relevant. I'm part of that group. I want them to be successful and relevant. But, taste and tide, it changes.
Can't convince like everybody to go and get into indie games or smaller games either. Like some people are just going to naturally gravitate towards, I don't fucking know, Call of Duty is
Call
the
of
only
Duty,
one I
yeah,
can think of.
or
But,
going out
like
to restaurants,
fucking
like
touching grass. You can't convince everybody to get into like smaller video games.
So I think it's hard all around right now, I guess is my TLDR on that. I think it's it's definitely a constricted period, and I think that there is no security. I think there's only the illusion of security, and maybe what we're seeing is that the illusion of security offered by larger companies, the veneer is kind of chipped away a little bit, and people are like, wait a second. But the truth is that it was never secure. I mean, I've been at large companies and told that we're all a big family only to be laid off. That's just the nature of the industry. Teams staff up, teams ramp down. It sucks to lose your job. It's happened to me 3-4 times. So I think maybe the idea of security is being exposed as kind of the fallacy that it always was. And so I would say nowhere is safe, but that doesn't mean that nowhere is successful, or that there is no successful spot to be. It just means that working in this industry, there is an inherent amount of risk, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I in nowhere meant to imply that independent games were somehow risk-free and just a walk of the park. I very much know
it's easy.
That's true.
You guys should make one this afternoon. It's only 7 in the morning for you. You can make an indie game by 7 tonight.
Yeah, we've got like 8 hours.
4 p.m. for me.
Yeah.
Okay. I can make an indie game. We'll see about you.
You start now, you'll be finished by 4 p.m. your
easy.
time.
But yeah, you talk about your experiences like with being laid off and stuff like that. Is just for like a final question here, is that something like those experiences, is that something that you took with you to Red Hook Studios and and has that like impacted the way that you have like co-run that studio?
I mean, we try to be really transparent and honest and accountable to our staff. We try to like be straight up about what's happening, not only on the business side, but where we're at in development and what's going to be required. So I didn't like seeing information consolidated in like an upper leadership and then trickled out. So we try to be like really on the nose about where things are. So maybe that's one way experiences kind of affect things. I think that for me personally, if something's going to fail or end, I want to be intimately acquainted with why. I don't want to just be told that I don't have a job anymore. I think like that kind of sucks, where you've done your, what you consider to be the very best work you could, only to just be told, well, something changed at corporate and now that project is gone. And there's never I never really got, when I was in those situations, I never really got like a satisfying explanation as to like what actually happened. Like I want to understand. It's not that I want to change the outcome. There's no changing the outcome. I just want to understand. And I could never really get satisfaction that way. So I kind of feel like part of me enjoys being intimately acquainted with what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I'm comfortable owning the fact that if we hit a rock, it's my fault. My fault we hit the rock. I think that's part and parcel of being in a leadership position. You don't get to do podcasts and then escape accountability.
Yeah.
You have any final questions, Billy, before we wrap up?
I don't think so. No, we went through pretty much. Yeah, we're good.
We went all over the place.
All over the place. That's how every episode goes. That's how every interview goes. We're free form.
For sure. Well, I didn't know if you guys wanted to come at it from a creative what's in the game angle or how we make it angle, but hopefully there was something there that was useful.
We had an angle and you succeeded. Congratulations.
Before we let you go, Chris, sorry for keeping it a little bit longer.
No, it's fine.
Do you have anything you want to just shout out or say before we let you go?
I want to just thank anybody who's picked up one of our games, either one or two, and enjoyed them, or didn't really enjoy them but didn't refund them. Both of those people I want to thank. And we're working on a really big update for Darkest Dungeon 2. Should be pretty exciting. It's going to come later this year. So, if you've picked it up and you've moved on to other games, be a good reason for you to revisit it, maybe late summer, fall, something like that.
Awesome. Sweet.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate the
Also,
chance to
just
chat.
before we go, literally last thing I want to say is when we got into this call, he clocked me almost immediately and went, "Oh, French Canadian," and that fucked me up ever since. Like that's all I've been thinking about. It's the entire time we were talking, I've been so self-conscious.
That's my tactic. I got to get you on your back foot.
So fucked up. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate it, guys.
Welcome back. That was such a good interview. Am I right, guys?
Did you have a fucking food-full mouth?
No, I just sound like this.
Ew.
I'm full of spit and bile. We're talking about Titanfall 2 as requested by the Patreon.
Yeah.
Specifically, we're not going into the multiplayer just because we wanted to focus down on the campaign, and I think that's kind of what makes the game special. And if we're looking at it from the perspective of the entire show, that's what made it completely different from the first one as well.
Yeah.
Just baseline, what's everyone's experience with Titanfall 2?
Stand ball for Titanfall. I worked at GameStop when this game came out, and I remember it vividly, and I can hear Ave Maria in my head whenever I think about this game, because I remember the Battlefield and the Call of Duty that were releasing alongside this one, and all I can think of is as every game was being taken off the shelf except for Titanfall 2.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's so depressing.
That's the first thing I think of when I think of Titanfall 2 is I think of, God, this game was absolutely slaughtered. It was murdered for no reason. They sent it out there to die.
I still, because the guys who published it was EA, right? I swear I heard
They published Battlefield 1 literally a week before Titanfall 2.
Yeah, did they have some kind of vendetta or some shit?
I mean, best guess is they wanted it to fail so they could
buy Respawn,
collect tax, and also buy Respawn.
Yeah. So it released alongside like fucking Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
That's insanely stupid.
Yep.
What the fuck?
It was set to die, and I think about how sad I am all the time because I would much rather play. I know we didn't want to talk about the multiplayer, but this is like my big point because I haven't played the campaign recently, and I'm sure y'all are going to have way more to say about the campaign later. But I did want to mention how playing Infinite Warfare and playing Titanfall 2 multiplayer back in the day, side by side, was so crazy because you could basically play two video games with hyper movement, but one of them was fun and the other one was tiny arena death boxes. And like how much more impressive Titanfall 2 is because of the big robot fight and because of the hypermobility and how much more fun it was. It still infuriates me to this day that it was sent out like a lamb to the slaughter. Like it is ridiculous, but regardless, like it died a hero's death.
It really did.
And I think people still talk about that game to this day.
Okay, I do want to get multiplayer out of the way because I lied. I do want to talk about it.
Oh, you want to? Okay, fine. Go for multiplayer.
Just briefly, I think this is the biggest thing about Titanfall to me is that it kind of solves a lot of the problems I have with hero shooters in the sense of like the ultimate ability, right? So like the ultimate ability in like Overwatch or whatever is it changes the game. You plan around it, right? But it's just one and done, right? And the game, the way it changes Overwatch is that it kind of just turns the game into waiting to see who has their ultimate and who uses it first and who it has more at the same time kind of thing. With Titanfall, the ultimate is replaced by the Titanfall. And it's not just this one event, like you call it down and that's it. it actually changes the way in which you interact. And then like it depends as well. Like it changes the gameplay for even if you're just like a little dude, because it's not like they're fucking invulnerable, indestructible beings. You can like,
they are absolutely not. You can clown on a fucking Titan.
yeah, you can jump on their back, steal their batteries, fucking use your arc grenades, stun them, and make it so they can't turn and follow you. There's so much stuff you can do and so much interplay and skill that it kind of just like makes it still has that big event that an Ultimate that people like, you know, that satisfaction of like calling your Titan down, jumping in like, I'm fucking big robot now. But it also doesn't fundamentally ruin the gameplay for those moments. And it's not just this one-off thing. It actually affects the rest of the game and how you're playing it. And the fucking level design in the multiplayer maps is so good. It's so well designed.
The level design in
general,
every fucking aspect of this fucking game is so out of this world phenomenal.
And the fact that the multiplayer maps are actually level designed instead of like a 3-year-old drew this on a crayon and then built a map around it. Like,
yeah,
like comparatively.
Yeah.
Also, you get a big laser, and I like getting the big laser, and then you fire the big laser, and you're like,
the big laser.
I do love that. Like, I didn't play the multiplayer of Titanfall 2. I only played the multiplayer of Titanfall 1. And I have a question, because I remember the marketing for the lead up of this game coming out and everybody being like, oh, dude, it's so awesome. It's Call of... Oh, shit, I just fucking tapped the mic with my lip. It's so awesome. It's Call of Duty, but awesome. And the two big things I saw that had me interested in it, but like I couldn't play it because I was going to get a PS4, was the fact that they were adding like... And it was so weird at the time that they were adding like League of Legends style minions to it, which at the time was completely fucking unheard of, especially in a Twitch shooter.
What do you? Oh, you mean the little grunts that walk around the map? Yeah.
They were in Titanfall 1.
No, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Titanfall 1 here. Like that's why I'm curious. Like, did the minions carry over to Titanfall 2?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I think that is so fucking smart. Genuinely, I think for a Twitch shooter, because and it also adds on to the other like quote unquote mechanic that they introduced in Titanfall 1, which is also in Titanfall 2, that I think is also brilliant. And this was also unheard of until people were like, oh, yeah, this is an Overwatch thing. It's the fact that the ult will charge. The ult as in like, you know, the Titanfall, and it will charge regardless of whether or not you're bad at the game, which I think is great. Like, if you're good at the game, it'll charge faster, but if you're bad, it's still gonna like, you know, slowly like tick away. And I think those are great. And then you get that and you get the minions thing. And it's a good way of giving people that are bad at these types of games something to do, because you know that no matter how shit you are at these games, you're gonna eventually get a robot and you get to at least shoot things and feel good about it, which is like a way of letting people who are like not very good, or they're old, or they're decrepit, or they're senile, or they're demented, and let them like enjoy themselves without like
getting my demented grandpa a fucking Xbox One controller and telling him he has to go to war
without hindering the experience of other players. Like, it's not like fucking it's because like a big crutch that a lot of devs like get into when they're making like these very like high skill ceiling games, that they go like, oh, we made it more easy to do X and X and blank. And it's just like, well, now these things don't feel as good to do anymore. But the way that Titanfall did it, well, the way that Respawn did it, I think is fucking brilliant, of letting like lower level players still have fun, even if they're getting fucked up.
Yes, as a lower level player, I agree.
Yeah,
I've had fun playing the multiplayer.
It also like you still feel like you're having an impact as well, because no matter the game mode, it's going to help those better players.
Oh, do the grunts add to the score? I thought they were just there for fun.
They do. Yep.
They do. Depending on the game mode,
it's not big, but yes.
I think you'd have to kill like, I can't actually remember the actual scoring for it, but I remember it being significantly less than actually like killing a player.
It's like I think it's like 10.
Yeah, I think it was
it's
at
like 10. And you have to kill 10 to get 100, and 100 is one player. It's been fucking forever, and I did not play the multiplayer.
Yeah, I think so, something along those lines. But yeah, it still definitely helps. And you know, usually they'll spawn around objectives depending on the game mode that you're playing. That's the other thing. Oh god, we're just talking about the multiplayer at the moment.
Yeah, we're not even going.
But like, the game modes in the game were so cool and interesting. Like, it did a kill confirmed type game mode.
Oh, I love
kill confirmed so much.
But its spin on it was that you had to bank the kills that you confirm. Like there was like an objective that moves around, and I think other games have since copied that.
Oh, you have to deposit the dog
You have
tags?
to deposit it.
Oh, that's so much better. Oh, that's so good.
I think the newest Call of Duty did that with their kill confirmed.
So you can be like really fucking, if you're really confident, you can kill like 10 people and have like 10 dog tags or whatever the fuck on you. But if you don't bank it and someone kills you before you get to it, they get all of them.
Wasn't there also a thing where it would give you like a VIP thing where it's like
if you get too many,
guys,
you'll show up through walls.
Yeah.
Wait.
Get marked.
I just realized something. You know what that is? Oh my god. Was that in Titanfall 1 or just 2?
From memory, I don't know. I didn't play much Titanfall 1.
Okay, because if it's not from Titanfall 1, that means they took the way MGS5 did Team Deathmatch.
Oh my god.
Being dead serious? Because remember, Cameron, you could knock out someone that has a lot of kills and Fulton them, and then your team gets all those kills.
Oh, you're so fucking right. I forgot about that.
That's fucking crazy. What the fuck?
No, the Metal Gear Solid 5 multiplayer is legit as fuck. It's really fun. And you saying that activated my worms of like, I've played this. I haven't played Titanfall 2 multiplayer, but I've played this system, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I know the one that's copied it most recently is the finals, which is awesome because that's a great game mode. But it's just like they did so much stuff where they were really thinking about how can we change the formula of the arena shooter, like the Call of Duty, like, and make it more fun, more approachable and more interesting, and like have these little like nuances to it that really change it and make it just feel like its own thing. And God, that I wish that fucking Battlefield 1 just didn't come out at that same time, because
hey, you can always play Apex Legends.
It's in the universe.
It's in the universe. You see it at the end of the game. They say Apex.
I did play a lot of Apex Legends, to be fair, but like,
yeah,
I've heard they've done some stuff recently which isn't too great. Anyway, let's move on to the campaign, which is like the thing we want to be talking about the most.
I know it's random, but one of the first things I realized when you start the campaign is they immediately start like anthropomorphizing every single Titan in the game and making them more than just a big robot, and like they really want you to love BT. They want you to like BT so fucking much. They give him an actual personality instead of just being like a fucking, just like instead of just being a robot. He talks a lot. He has like little jokes he's gonna make, and when he does his little jokes, I'm not gonna lie, I have a little smile. Like he's like, I will throw you, and then he makes like, trust me. Then he like makes a little joke later about it. It's like, man, they made that stupid fucking robot so goddamn likable. And I really appreciate that because it makes you want to keep playing the game. Because if it was just like the fact that the game is really fun to play, I'm sure I would come back to replay it anyways. But the fact that they also made like, because the story's basic as fuck, but the character interaction between like, I don't remember what your character's name is,
Cooper,
and BT. Between Cooper and BT, it's so like they're bros. It's like such a bromance, and it's really fun.
It's literally the Iron Giant.
It's
it's literally
shit.
I go,
You're
you
right.
stay. It's the Iron Giant.
Oh, bro.
I think it's a testament to like exactly what you're saying, where the story itself, if I laid out the plot beats through the entire game, someone would be like, that sounds like the most generic sci-fi fucking action movie plot that I've ever heard.
Because it is.
And
yeah.
But the way it's told, and the obviously playing the game adds a shit ton to it, but like just the character moments between those two characters just really brings to life the world and like and how you interact with it so much that it's like, it's just like you forget that you're like, it's just like, oh, I've got to go get the MacGuffin kind of thing.
That's cool and all, but like, let's really talk about what we want to talk about is how they did singularity inside of Titanfall 2.
You want to talk about, you're already fucking you want to go into effect, right? Cause and effect. What was it called?
The best fucking level in an
FPS.
FPS
It's cause and effect. I'm not gonna lie. I will say, because I think you guys want to talk about this more than I do.
Yes.
That level left a bad taste in my mouth because
What?
No, it was great. I'm saying it left a bad taste in my mouth because you have to put the machine back at the end of it, and I was like, oh man, I thought this was gonna be a mechanic now. Come on.
Could you imagine? Holy shit.
Yeah, it would have been sick.
It's not like the Gauntlet and Singularity, no, but for a brief moment, we're back in it, baby.
That's one of the coolest things about this game is that every stage does have a gimmick or a big set piece, and it keeps building up. It just builds up and builds up until it like hits its logical extreme, like its logical big climax.
Yeah.
And then it just reaches this huge crescendo, and it's so satisfying. And every single level is like this.
Yes.
It's impressive. We're talking about cause and effect. And I mean, we're going to go into spoilers for the game. And I'm going to be honest, go play the game. It's 6 hours long.
Oh, yeah.
It's a 6 hour long game. It costs like $3 all the goddamn time. Not actually, but it's always on sale at $3.
It was like $4 last week, I think.
It's on Game Pass as well. Like,
before you get into spoilers, I just wanted to say as well, on that, I think it's probably the most perfectly paced single player like action game I've ever played.
100%.
It feels like a breeze playing it. Like everything just flows into each other, and like you don't feel like you're staying in one place. Like no one thing stays too long, or one idea stays for too long.
The flow of everything just feels so good.
But yeah, cause and effect, the best level in the game.
Cause and effect, arguably the best level in like any video game, and it comes up on so many best levels of all times lists for a very good reason. It's so fucking fun, and you know how it does every stage is you get the gimmick, you see how the gimmick works, you see how there's weird time shit happening. Eventually you keep fighting in these little action moments, and then you get the actual device that lets you switch from the past to the present. And then they make you get into a room where you have to fight both people in the present and in the past. And then they make you do little puzzles where like this door was closed, now it's open. It keeps throwing at you new challenges with that. So now you're doing a parkour sections where you're running on the walls, and then you have to switch very rapidly between the past and the present to avoid an automatic death. It just keeps going until there's an all-out war back at where you started the level outside of the complex, and the war is happening in the past and in the present. And then it's so insane and it's so crazy, and every level does something like this where it just keeps building up.
The other thing with cause and effect that is like great and kind of goes a little unnoticed is all of the little details that they add. So whenever you kill an enemy in the past, if you change back, because like it's on a button, like you press a button and you switch back.
I think it's your grenade button or something.
No, it takes away your cloak.
It takes away
you have a cloaking device for most of the game. It just takes away that ability, which is like, who fucking cares? And so when you switch back to the future, they actually put the like body there that it wouldn't have been there before after you killed them. It's great. There's this one scene as well where I think someone's giving like a lecture or something, and you teleport back. If you run right up to them, they will like stop their lecture and be like, "What are you doing, pilot?" And then after that, there's an audio log that changes depending on which time that you ran up and like interrupted their speech to actually be the same. Like you can hear like the dialogue cut. It sounds bad, but it's really funny.
Yeah, but they still did it. And
they think about these like
so
little
much.
It's so crazy the amount of detail, and obviously like there's like limitations, like the bodies aren't going to fall exactly in the same place because they have to be static objects. But it's like they thought about this stuff to the point where they implemented it, and it works so well just to add that little bit extra for those people that are paying attention, or if you're like me and you're paying it for the fucking third or fourth time.
That's a really good way to put it, is like Titanfall, it does something, but it always adds that little bit extra. Everything you do in that game, it's just like you do this, and then there's that little bit of extra detail that just makes it so special and memorable.
Yeah.
Dude, I played all the Call of Duty games. I played like a bunch of fucking first-person shooter campaigns. I don't remember a single one of these fucking levels. For Titanfall 2, I remember that whole ass campaign, and I've only played it twice. Well, now I've played it 3 times. The environmental design also is just fucking insane. The colors and everything. Oh my god.
That's one of the things that I was gonna mention. When you're playing it and you do like that training with the guy, and then you're like, oh, hoorah! Here comes the Earth soldiers, and I was just like, oh fuck me. And then you get deployed, and everybody gets fucked up, and then you climb out of the pod or the robot or whatever, and you're in this crazy fucking lush Pandora Navi avatar looking ass planet.
Yes.
I went, oh, this is what we're doing. Never mind. This is way better.
Dude, the colors are like popping. For me, like one thing that elevated the shit out of it, I was playing on PS5 with headphones, and I was just bumping.
Oh, did you have Hispanic feedback, or does it not have a PS5 patch?
Did I have a what?
Haptic feedback is what he's saying. He's just,
No. It's just because I was playing on it, but the sound design is so fucking good. It's genuinely phenomenal. It's so weighty. It's so substantial, but it's never overpowering. It's kind of a fucking work of art.
You guys know this is in the Source engine?
Yeah, it's somehow modified Source engine.
Ridiculous.
Oh, also the fucking soundtrack is lush and grandiose and gorgeous.
Who composed the soundtrack? Is it like
don't
somebody
know.
notable? Because I remember it being really good. Yeah,
I'm sure they are.
We got Stephen Barton. He did a bunch, basically all of the Respawn games and the 12 Monkeys TV show, as well as Picard.
He did Picard.
Yeah, Picard.
Oh, he also did the Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order.
All of the Respawn games.
I forgot those are Respawn. That's
those
right.
are Respawn games. I want to talk about, because I think looking at cause and effect, or even the mission before that, which I also really like, and I the name of it escapes me. Looking at those as microcosms of how the pacing works in the game and how good it is really
What was
interesting.
the one before cause and
So
effect?
the one before that is where the map is being built around you. So
Oh, I'm gonna be real. I didn't like that one. That was
you don't like that one?
No, that was one. I call it the IKEA map, and I got.
I mean, I guess.
I guess.
I just got really tired of it really fast. I was just like, I really would rather go back to the crazy jungle bullshit. This is not doing it for me. Like, I don't know. It was such a harsh, sudden change in aesthetics that I really wasn't a fan of. It just, I don't know. Like, I did like the gimmick. I did like I'm saying aesthetics wise, like design wise, like that. I'm saying like layout of the thing and, the gimmick that is being built around you is great. I just thought aesthetics wise, it really fucking bored me. And I thought it went on just a little bit too long.
Yeah, that's fair.
it.
Yeah.
I think yeah, I mean, aesthetically I liked it. Suck a dick. But basically, the premise of the mission is that you don't know when you first go in there what's being built. You're like, oh, are they just like making a bunch of houses? That's pretty cool. That's based.
That's based.
So they're like it's all on a conveyor belt, and you can see like they're like building this stuff around you, and it starts like it's you start off and you're on the platform, and it moves you along. And you can see this giant factory, and then like as you progress through the platform, like there's a bunch of them, but basically if you're like paced with the level, you're going to be like around the similar one, and each stage it's like more built until you finally get, and it's like this giant thing, and then you get lifted up. It all ends in this like arena that's like really fucking cool, and you see all of the different parts that you've been on basically for the entire mission.
Yeah, my favorite thing also is that you could like break the sky and shit.
Yeah,
it's cool.
The skybox is insane in that. It's I don't know. It's just like the way that they do setup and each mission feels like it has its own little arc, right? Of a beginning, middle, and end, and it all works together so well.
I love video, dude. This is one of those video games. It's so hard to like. It's difficult to talk about because there's just so much good stuff. It's so good, and I don't want to tell people like what happens in the game in case they listen to this and don't go play it, because this game is just kind of the campaign is one of those just perfect campaigns.
I don't want to conclude before we talk about the boss fights, by the way. I thought the boss fights were fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, the fighting the samurai guy and then getting his moveset. I think I peed a little bit. I thought that fight was fucking amazing. And I forget the one that was on top of a moving spaceship.
The spaceship.
Yeah.
That is like my favorite level in that game because what the
so
fuck? It's
good.
so cool.
Never in my life did I expect that a shooter campaign in that year, where it's like not even like it's not a Wolfenstein, it's not a Womb. What the fuck? It's not a Doom.
Somebody wants to go back in.
A Womb person shooter.
Well, yeah, where it's not like a Wolfenstein or a Doom. It's like a very Call of Duty feeling game and a campaign of that. And you tell me that this game has actually fucking amazing boss fights. I just straight up don't believe you. But after the first one, I was like, oh, dude, that was such a sick set piece. Like, I called it a set piece, you know? But then, no, these are the bosses. You're playing Mega Man. And I was like, dude, what the fuck? And then, dude, getting to that final guy on top of the spaceship, I was like, this game is so fucking good. I do have one complaint, but unfortunately, it's a spoiler, so I'm not going to say it.
That's it. We're allowing spoilers. What's your complaint?
Oh, yeah? Okay, well, we'll skip like a minute. Okay, and it's a very small complaint. BT's death didn't hit me at all, because they did a death fake out like 30 minutes before.
I agree.
It's also
it's
also another fake out.
It's like they do 2 fake outs one after the other. So
not that it ever matters, because Titanfall 3 is never happening.
And so I was like, oh, okay, well, way to fucking ruin this moment. Great. and then the game ended, and I was like, ugh. You know,
to me, that's whatever. I really don't care about like
I find death fake outs poisonous, so it really pissed the shit out of me. It really pissed me off.
To be fair, that death fake out wasn't really a fake out, the first one. It's because it immediately resolves, like he goes, Cooper, come here.
Yeah. Cooper, come here.
The only one that is IMO is the last one. But even then, I'm like, I don't really.
Oh, I know, but like I do have like, if I am gonna name a complaint, that would be it.
Yeah.
Because other than that, I was shockingly attached to the story and the characters, and then they hit me with that, and I was like, come on, man, you know.
Another thing that I do think helps is the fact that you can't sometimes while you're doing like jumping puzzles, which are also really fucking fun. They're simple, they're shrimple as hell, but they're really satisfying to pull off. Sometimes you get like little dialogue choices, and you actually feel, it's a little thing, but like being able to talk with BT, like, and actually choose what you want to tell, like say to BT helps a lot.
Video game good.
You know what? I have something controversial to say.
Oh shit.
Video game good.
Get out.
Oh fuck. More anonymous calls coming up.
Ed, come back, please. You squishy little twink. I want you to come back here.
You know, I think that game is so good that I hope these guys one day become a support studio.
Oh my fucking god.
No, I mean they're never gonna do that anymore. They're gonna be doing fucking Star Wars games until the end of time. It's fine. They're gonna do a Star Wars Titanfall.
Big Box asks, do you think Apex has made a third game more or less likely?
Less.
Way less.
Probably.
I'm pretty sure if Apex Legends has made a third game more or less likely, like the success of it pretty much is what they're saying.
I was a bit confused, sorry. Way less likely. Are you nuts? Hey, are you familiar with a little game called GTA Online? Yeah, yes. No. Titanfall 3 is not happening.
1 is making too much money.
I'm pretty sure Titanfall 3 was in the works, and then Apex took off, and they're like, you guys are not getting off this for the next 12 years. And like the others, like, because they split into 2 studios essentially, which is like the Star Wars
Apex
ones, and then the Apex ones. And it's the Apex ones were pretty much mainly responsible for the Titanfall stuff, so yeah, there's just no way.
Yeah.
They also asked like if we'd preferred other multiplayer abilities like the grapple or stim, and if it would have improved or added much. I don't actually think so. I think grapple would have broken a lot of the game, and same with stim, really. You'd have to consider so much more when designing the map that restricting it only to cloak kind of makes sense. I do kind of miss them though. What do you guys? Smile.
I didn't play the multiplayer at all. I'm sorry.
I haven't played the multiplayer in so long that I don't know what I would add to
Brendan, please back me up here.
It has literally been years since I've touched Titanfall 2. I don't even remember what those do.
Damn it. Stem makes you fast. Grapple is a grappling hook.
Wait, Cameron, 1 second. Let me boot it up real quick.
Okay. Let me confirm this.
All right, wait. Looking for a match?
Oh.
Looking for a match?
Oh.
Looking for a match?
Oh man, come
Looking
on.
for a match?
Come on, man.
Looking for a match? Looking for a match?
Do you get it?
Bird from Merrill. I think PvE in the game is robbed some weight by the absence of a limb-based health system, a la MechWarrior, which isn't as felt to me in PvP on account of their increased beef, and the simple intensity that only human opponents can provide. Not blind to the technical challenges of integrating it, though.
Was that English? What's the question?
Basically, well, the question is like, yeah, okay, so let me break it down for you. Let me put it into English. They're asking...
English, please.
They're saying that the combat between like mech to mech gameplay and like the boss fights aren't as good because instead of worrying about like limb health and stuff like that, it's just you have a health bar.
Yeah.
So like you can't shoot off like legs, arms, kind of stuff like that you can do. I assume in MechWarrior. I haven't played MechWarrior, so.
I haven't played MechWarrior either.
Doesn't Armored Core also do that?
No. Armored Core does just straight health bars. You cannot harm limbs.
Oh, okay.
I just don't think. I think it's a different game.
Yeah,
is what I like. I don't think the gameplay would work well with that. I'd be pissed if my fucking gun stops working because a fucking enemy shot me. Like,
yeah,
depends though, because what if you could rip off a guy's arm and hit him to death with another motherfucker's arm?
You can't. That's an execution, and they did those. But
what if you could run around with the arm and bludgeon people like Scout TF2's bat?
like no, I think it's straight up is just like it's these are just different games. I agree with Cameron. Like if I think Titanfall with like this limb damage system would just be annoying.
Wouldn't it slow down the game?
Yeah.
What's the difference between like a fun mech game and a mech simulation game? Like it would make way more sense in a mech simulation game because you want more realism, you want everything to have more weight. Titanfall by existence is supposed to be an arcadey fun experience. Like
same with Armored Core. That's why Armored Core also doesn't have limb damage because it's fucking goofy as shit. Like it's not supposed to. It's not a simulator at all. Neither of these games are simulators.
Like I'm not gonna like pretend to know anything about MechWarrior, but I've seen some gameplay and they look like they move like tanks. They're like bipedal, very slow.
Have you ever seen the controller for MechWarrior?
Yes, I've seen the MechWarrior controller.
Yeah, that we're talking about different games. This is like it's fucking
MechWarrior
like,
is a game for
American
freaks.
Truck Simulator for fucking.
Call me when it has a fucking dash button, okay?
Well, if you make a lighter mech in MechWarrior, actually, it depends on the weight of the mech.
I'm looking at the controller. Holy Jesus!
You've never.
MechWarrior is eternally fucked.
It's an actual simulator.
Is this a Capcom
it's not
game?
Like Bandai Namco, I think.
Oh.
Wait, am I?
No, Capcom.
I could be wrong.
Oh no, that's
Was
Steel
it Capcom?
Battalion. Wait, we're talking about Steel Battalion, not MechWarrior.
Oh my god, we are thinking of Steel. Oh, the comments.
It's fine. We've corrected. You can't shut on us anymore.
So funny. I was about to say like, why are there?
What's MechWarrior?
Next question. Haley says, I feel like I don't have anything to say about this that hasn't already been said by literally anybody that's played it, and it's definitely one of the most replayable FPS campaigns IMO.
Yes.
The way the story is simple but engaging and how it mixes things up every level is so good. I agree. I said the same thing before.
Everybody has. You could have honestly, instead of listening to this fucking podcast, you could have probably just like Googled Titanfall 2 Reddit and everybody would have said the same thing.
Oh no, I thought you were going to say the length of this episode is probably going to be like the length of a run.
Mm-hmm. I mean, almost.
Yeah, it's not very long. You can play it in an afternoon.
I said 6 hours earlier, but I thought about it, and I think it might be shorter than that.
It's all gas, no brakes. It's pretty good.
Okay, every other question is literally saying, I love this game, so...
Yeah,
Who? Big surprise.
That's kind of the problem with talking about a game like this, because it's just what is there to say anymore?
I kind of just wish more games stole from it.
I agree.
I just want more short, like, FPS campaigns. Give me a movement system that, like, feels like butter. I will fucking sing your praises until the cows come home. Any final thoughts on Titanfall 2?
Go buy it.
I'm just thinking about, like, the fucking, when you get the smart pistol for that, like, last section.
Oh, that feels
how
really
good it
fucking
feels.
good.
after like all of the it's so good because it also kind of plays to the expectations from the first game and how much people like hated the smart pistol, which is like fair enough. Why the fuck did they put that in the goddamn multiplayer as just a base weapon? But like, you know, it plays on that like oh, this game doesn't have the smart pistol anymore and you don't have it for the entire campaign, and then right at the end it's like,
does Titanfall 2 multiplayer not have the smart pistol?
It does.
Okay, I was gonna say
it's relegated to a ability. So like, you know how you can place like a turret or a shield if you get enough kills? It's like the kills. It's a kill
like
streak.
The cowboy,
it's a kill streak.
Like the cowboy from Overwatch.
Yeah. And it's and even then it's still nerfed from how it was in Titanfall 1, because Titanfall 1 it was insane.
I do agree that I really wish more shooters like stole from it, because like that game genuinely fucking blew me away. Multiplayer wise though, and this is something that like I felt just about myself. I don't even know if it's like a symptom of getting older, but like I feel like, because I'm not saying like, oh, I'm mature so I don't like these games anymore, but in terms of Twitch shooters, I don't know what it is about them, but like ever since my Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2 era, I have completely lost interest in playing those games online. I don't know. Like I would much.
Can I get an age check?
I mean, I went through that period myself too until like I found something that clicked again. Like as somebody a bit older, I went through that time where I was like, I don't have the time or care about these multiplayer games. But if something like Titanfall 2 came along again, like I'd be right back into it. I think maybe it's just a symptom of like experiencing too much of it, or just like not really wanting to experience it anymore, just taste changing. For me, it was just I was a Call of Duty kid for a very long time, and then I just got too angry and stopped, and now I just enjoy a lot of single player experiences, but I still play Fortnite. Yeah. So
for me, it's just because that like I think I'm glad that I'm glad that it exists, you know, and I'm glad that there's like an audience for this, because these like super fast movement shooters, they definitely look fun, but to me it's like. And again, you can say skill issue, you can say age issue, you can say old decrepit. You're gonna forget what your daughter looks like in ETA 5 years. But like to me, they're almost like too fast. Like I see Call of Duty, like the latest ones, and I just find them all so unappealing. Because to me, it's like this feels like so fast that it almost feels like a vapid experience. That like I'm gonna play this match and then instantly forget about it.
Oh, you said Call of Duty, but I think what you meant to say actually was weapon skin simulator.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Where like I almost feel like these games are way too fucking fast to be enjoyable for me.
Oh no, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I would hate to fight against someone that can also do this.
Yeah, I can see where you're going.
So like, yeah, that's why I never touched the multiplayer, but I fucking loved the campaign. I genuinely loved it.
If no one else got anything to say, we'll wrap up there. Thanks everyone for joining me. If you want to vote on the next game, Huh? What'd you say? Say it again.
What?
I genuinely didn't hear Billy say anything. Is this a bit?
I don't know if it's a bit.
Oh. Anyway, if you guys want to like vote on the next game, you can join the Patreon. He's
going crazy. He's inventing friends, dude. What the fuck?
Being gaslit by everybody around me, and you can be gaslit too if you join the Patreon.
Yeah. I don't know what we're not certain what the next episode is going to be yet, so we haven't picked the games that people can vote on that would make sense with the theme for the episode. But once we figure that out, oh boy, you're going to be able to vote on that and more, like the movie we talk about on Pondering, or the question for the Patreon Q&A on Please Stop Talking. I don't know. There's a bunch of stuff.
The PST machine is dinging. It's it's printing out the name of the next episode.
Oh, wow.
Jobless Bums versus Sexual Predators. A PST Press Start Turbo cage match between...
What the fuck are you talking?
And... where we debate and compare all of their game output.
What the fuck are you talking about?
See you next week, everybody.
Howdy, this This episode of Press Start Turbo would not have been possible without the help from our patrons, such as Alan Diver, Bland But Funny, Boopoo Lou, Brain Soup, Cassandra Crash, Chips, Chris Chapman, Dog Named Bear, DX Studios, Edward McMillan, Eric Scott Gillies, Ethereal, Fate Ido, Geef, Generic Phoenix, Guy Beam, Invictus Echo, Lambda Man, Leo the Geotech, Mr. Starchy, Mr. Shirt, Pharmacy Fruit Bat, Random Diamonds, Rat Supreme, Skelicopter, Spherical May, The Frost Ace, Ulbert, Will9455, and Woodstock. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.